The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of Spaced Out Radio or Spaced Out Radio Limited is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised.
Bumblefoot. Bumblefoot.
Are you experienced?
Stop right there!
From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
They let us play with all our toys. They let us think that we're big boys. They let us make the louder noise, but we ain't rule the world. They let us think we're Superman.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on iTunes and TuneIn. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. For you. I will stop till I reach the top just to be there with you.
Dave, oh Dave, are you playing with Bigfoot and aliens again?
Dad, you gotta stop haunting the ghost. It's scaring them.
All right, seriously, put down the pointy sticks.
Oh, the deeper I fall.
Okay! Game on! Game on! Game on!
The password is...
Alright.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio. Mr. Bumblefoot, Dave is ready for liftoff.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you.
Seriously, Dave? Really? Aren't you a little old for a tinfoil hat?
Hiya! Toby! Bye-bye! Love you! Bye-bye!
Tickets, please take your seat on our there will be a prepare for pickup. Start. 2, 1, boost ignition, and liftoff.
I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall. The deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight as we kick off a brand new week. I am your host, Dave Scott, and it's good to have you along for the ride on this Monday, June 19th, Tuesday, June 20th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. We are live right here in the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia as we are here 7 days a week. We welcome everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. Great to have you along with us. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Like our music, get your horns up for our resident guitar god, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy. Bumblefoot is the official sound of Spaced Out Radio. Hey, if you're a social media junkie like I am, give us a follow on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download our shows from iTunes. We're also on RadioGuide.fm, Player.fm, TalkStream Live, and Stitcher. And, of course, our website is SpacedOutRadio.com. And if you head over to Patreon.com for as low as $1 a month, you can become a patron of SOR as well. Now, if you want to take part in tonight's show, because we love having audience participation, you got to do me a favor. You got to sign into one of our chat rooms, either on our website by clicking Listen Live, go to Revolution Radio's chat room, Spreaker, the UPRN chat room, or maybe you're one of the valued members of the SOR Space Travelers Club. Or if you're on Facebook, or make that Twitter, just use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I'll get to your questions and comments live in there as well. Now, if you head to our website for $5 a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. You can also head to our store, pick yourself up a t-shirt, poster, stickers. And if you're looking for a weekend getaway, how about the Spaced Out Radio first annual Caribou Paracon right here in beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia, September 29th to October 1st. It's going to be a great weekend indeed at the Spruce Hills Spa and Resort. We want to see all of you there. And remember, up until July 31st, you pick up your VIP passes now, you get a 10% discount. So we want to see all of you take advantage of that. We have a news section on our website called The Encounter Online by Eric Markham and Everett Thiemer. You can read my latest blog there as well, and if you've had an experience you can't explain, fill out an SOR Sightlines report. Tonight we take a step back and look at all the facets surrounding the field of the paranormal with the reporters. The reporters tonight, Vanessa Hogel, Mike Ricksecker, Denise Garcia, Christina George. Well, I'm bringing them all together because, well, they're my friends. And they're all very talented and well-known personalities in the field of the paranormal or fringe media. We bring them together to get to the topics at hand, whether it's ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. It's the news around the topics that tends to make people smile or absolutely cringe in embarrassment. The importance of the paranormal media, in my opinion, and you may not agree with me, but this is what it is to help bring out the good and bad of this field. The fringe or alternative media, whatever you want to call us, is about looking for answers to the questions the mainstream doesn't want to tackle. But with the lack of experience and effectiveness with the culture of how media truly works, in the fringe, it's really an uphill battle to maintain any sort of credibility. So I welcome in the reporters tonight on Spaced Out Radio, Mike, Denise, Vanessa, Christina. Good to have you all with us. Now, Christina, you're quite the trooper here. You're actually doing this show from a hospital bed in California. What's with that?
Yes, I am. Well, I was hospitalized a couple days ago with a severe kidney infection, and it went into I got an infection in my bloodstream, so it's septic. So I'm here, but hey, the show must go on, right?
I love it. I love it. You are a trooper. You could play hockey. You could play hockey. You know, you're ready for playoff hockey. That's what you're ready for. You know, I got to thank you guys because this show is a lot of fun for me, and I think it has a lot of potential coming down the road here. And one of the things that we often talk about, mostly behind the scenes, and I've gone into it a little bit inside this, in this show as well. But the fringe media and the paranormal media, we have talked on the Reporters before about how it is very, very spread out, vast, maybe a little too much out there that, some lacks a lot of credibility, others are on their own topics. Mike, I'm going to start with you on this one because you are a guest frequently on shows. You're so busy in the field of the paranormal. You're probably one of the only people out there who's actually eking out a living in regards to all of this. When you look at the Fringe or paranormal media from an outsider's perspective, even though you and Vanessa have your own show, what works for you and what doesn't?
Well, really what works for us is relating the phenomenon that we're reporting about to actual people's experiences. One of the things that people come to me a lot with that really took me by surprise a few years ago was when people started coming to me and saying, thank you so much for what you're talking about, what you're covering, what you're writing about, because it's helped me to know that I'm not crazy. And, that's really, I think, a lot of what people are looking for is some validation of their experiences. And so, we try to relate what we're reporting, what we're talking about back to the people. It's about community. It's about people. It's not just about,
You cut out there, Mike. What was it about?
It's about the people.
And I understand where you're going with that. But do we have then the ability to actually call? I mean, let's face it. There's literally, 1,000, 2,000, maybe more paranormal so-called radio shows out there. And I don't want to sit here and insult them or berate them or anything along those lines. But there is, because there is no real training that is going on, should we be calling it a fringe media if it's more about people getting it out into the world, getting the story out? Because there's a real difference, and I've said this many a time, even when I've been a guest on shows, there's a real difference between creating good radio and playing on the radio. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean by that, and you're right that there are thousands of different radio stations and programs out there. People using different websites that host internet radio. So there's a lot of chaff out there, and it's not just in paranormal either. There's all kinds of various talk radios with other genres as well, and so. One of the advents of the internet is that you have a lot of amateurs out there that are finally given an opportunity to throw whatever it is that they want to do out there. You no longer need like a ham radio or shortwave radio or whatever, and all the equipment to do it. You just need access to the internet. So yeah, it's created. The same is true with writing, because I'm in the publishing industry as well, and. One of the things that we say is that, it's a wonderful age because, now there's access for anybody to become a writer. The problem is anybody can publish a book, and so, and not everybody's actually a good writer. So you end up with a lot of, poor material out there. So in some ways, it's a good thing because people who wouldn't normally be given an opportunity have now an opportunity to get a voice out there, and maybe they are good, but there's a lot of low quality shows out there, unfortunately.
Christina, you're a veteran of being behind the microphone. Do you think that we in this field deserve to be called media when really are we?
Yeah, well, I think it depends on the type of the shows that you have, the information you're getting out to people. Like Mike said, there's a lot of shows out there that aren't very good as far as if you're wanting to get information out. I've listened to a lot of shows that are about drama or about being silly, a lot of things, but really not touching on the real subjects that we need to be talking about.
And I understand that, Christina, but it still baffles me that we tend to look at what we are trying to do and say what we are doing is part of the media. I'm not so sure. The way I looked at it in the past is I said, yeah, absolutely we are. But then when, I've got this piece of paper that I paid for in college that says journalist on it, and that's all it is. I look at and I listen to a bunch of different shows, and I think, where's the journalism? Where's the creativity? Where's the honesty, the integrity? And I'm not saying all shows are like that. There's a reason why all of you are here today on the reporters. But do we have the ability to call us a true medium when we're just a bunch of amateurs playing in front of a microphone or a camera? And I'm still trying to figure out how people can call their radio show a radio show when they're broadcasting on Facebook Live.
Right. Well, and that's one of the biggest problems. There's so many platforms where before you had to be, picked up by an actual network to have a radio show. And if your ratings weren't good and you didn't have the listeners, you probably weren't going to have that show for very long. Now, anybody can have their own show. As long as you've got some money to pay, to host it every month, anybody can be on there and they can talk about anything. And I do think that it's kind of the downside to what we do, because again, there's just people can get out there and do anything they want. So yeah, I don't really consider a lot of what's being done is journalism or actual media, even alternative media. I mean, I would agree with you there.
Denise, as someone who is new to this field over the past year and a bit, what have you noticed? Because you seem to have done differently than what a lot of other people have had.
Well, yeah, and I know you said Facebook Live. I am one of those, so I'm sure you've seen. My shows go on Facebook Live through paranormalwarehouse.com on Facebook. We use the OBS and it broadcasts on there, but we also broadcast on other platforms as well, on Mixlr, and we broadcast. One of them we're going to start on a Spreaker as well, and we're going to we're trying to broadcast through several platforms. And for me, the Facebook Live thing we go through Paranormal Warehouse. That they've got a Facebook page, and they've got several shows on that page. And for me, it's another way of reaching people especially people that are always on Facebook. And so if they are fans of the page or the Paranormal Warehouse page, they'll get the notification, and they already know that page is for shows to watch. It's more so a way of putting out a video, like a vlog type, and it's the same format as a show, but you're out there, it's video. And so some people, the reason why we started doing that is because a lot of people that would listen to the show would ask us, is there anywhere we can watch you guys? And so we listen to our viewers, and they perverted. Yeah, right. Yeah, no. So they had asked if there was anywhere that they could watch, because some people, people learn differently. Some people learn through, auditory. Some people are visual learners. Some people, it doesn't matter. They can learn by listening, by watching, and so we did have some people that they were really enjoying the shows and they were enjoying the content, but they wanted to watch, much like, we live in an age where people are used to sitting down and watching TV. You watch the news, you watch TV, you watch your talk shows, and so they asked, and we, Dan and I looked around, and he found Paranormal Warehouse that he had already been working with, and they were interested in our show, and they picked it up, and now that's just another added platform where we broadcast as well through the other ones. But it's not like the only thing. Like I just said, oh, you know what? Well, let's just broadcast through Facebook Live and let's just do this. No, I mean, I started this a little over a year ago, and it's grown. I went off tangent. I don't remember exactly what your question was.
No, I think you answered it, but I'm going to tell you this. As someone who frequents social media like I do, because realistically, you know, when you're on a budget, you need to be able to keep in touch with whatever's going. And unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it, that is social media. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of these so-called radio broadcasts going on Facebook Live. I do see the importance with them. The old school radio hack in me doesn't agree with it, but that is my opinion. However, this is what I do say. To
However, Dee is very talented and does it on Facebook Live. And no, I'm just kidding.
We need more of your husband's mustache on the camera. That's what we need.
I will do that for you.
We need that lip blade on camera a little bit more. Anyways, and I know Dave is listening and probably killing himself laughing on that one too. No, but seriously, if you're going to put yourself on camera, have a background, okay, that works. And I'm sure you can all agree with this. I don't want to see a closet with clothes hanging in the background. I don't want to see pictures of people's children, because I'm a dad. I'm very protective and possessive of my kids.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to see pictures of people's children. You know, not that it's a bad thing, but you know what? Let's face it, there's a lot of weirdos in this field.
Yeah,
a lot of weirdos. Okay, I don't want to see someone's unfinished basement or laundry room, or have them sitting on the toilet doing whatever they're doing, painting their nails or whatever. But in reality, the last one I'm being facetious, but that's a lot of what we are seeing out there, Denise. Would you agree?
Which is sad. Yeah.
It is, but how do you gain a reputation by going on camera, trying to do the right thing, where all I want to know is why are your clothes hanging in different colors? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I get you. And I mean, those are, you know, I guess that's when you can tell the difference of who's just, like Mike was saying, somebody who doesn't have experience and just trying to throw something together and say, okay, I'm just going to give this a go. And they don't think about those things, you know? I have a banner, a Phenomenon Counter banner that I have, and I haven't put it up the last couple of shows, but I normally do. I put it up behind me. There's just a blank wall right now that's behind me. So, but I actually do think about that. And I do think what's behind me. And when I don't have access to my banner that I put behind me, I make sure that it's just a blank wall. And there's no pictures, or there's no, you know, so yeah, those are little things that people, you know, you can tell. Some people will think about it, and it's people that have been doing it for a while, that are experienced, and then, I mean, usually if you see something like that, you're probably already going to know, like, okay, this is somebody who, if they've been doing it for a while, they're not very good at it, or I don't want to say that, because maybe they are, they just don't think about those things. And I see what you're saying, because then it, you know, people that are surfing social media trying to find a good show, I mean, it's going to give those of us that are trying to do things the right way, or look professional, it's going to give those other shows a bad name, because they all get thrown together sometimes.
Vanessa, your thoughts. Are we a true medium when it comes to being a part of radio shows, television broadcasts? Is this a true medium, Vanessa Hogel, or are we just making it something out of nothing?
Well, we are, you know, all of us who have been doing this for a while, because like Mike and I, we started out doing a podcast and then went on to YouTube. I believe that what we're doing is, now, if you're asking me if the social media in its entirety and the way that this is getting done by a lot of other groups, is that a true medium or a media? It can be. Here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Even with your regular news that's on there, it's been proven time and time again, the news that you see on TV is scripted. It's just, you're being fed information, and there's no interaction. There's no room for growth. There's no room for debate. There's no room to learn. And on some of the shows out there, I like to think that Mike and I do this, and I know y'all do as well. Part of the reason we do this show is to learn. Mm-hmm. And that's what every media outlet should provide, is growth and learning. We have an exceptional amount of interaction with our viewers and those that are in the chat room. Mike and I are in constant contact via social media with our viewers, and, you know, who we call our Mad Hatters, as far as their ideas, their show ideas, what they want to talk about, their experiences, and how we can learn from them and our experiences and how they can learn from them. You know, it's all about broadening that horizon and bringing in additional information. Just like y'all, we're not doing one of those shows where we're going to have this person on, we're going to let this person talk the entire time, we're barely going to speak, and there's no interaction. Yeah. And that's where it's a problem. That's where I have a hard time considering it proper media. And that's when it's solely just, hey, I want everybody to hear my voice or see my face and see the cool person I got to come on and talk for an hour. But there's no growth. Does that make sense what I'm saying there? It really, really, really bothers me, because there's the whole purpose of us getting into all this and doing this to find answers and to bring closure and help other people. It's thrown by the wayside for that 49 or 59 minutes of fame. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're talking about in regards to that. But Vanessa, let me expand on that for a second. Because there is an oversaturation of shows, do you believe then that the listener is actually looking for quality over quantity?
Some, yes. I know ours do. There's a very specific reason. We've actually been told by our listeners why they watch our show every week. They're in the chat room before the show starts. And they've got their own dialogue going on discussing what we're talking about as well. And it's because they're getting something from it. So, I mean, I know that we're doing it the way that they want us to do it, and they're choosing to take an hour out of their day. And actually, it's gone longer. I ain't going to lie. They're begging us to do 2 hours. We've went 1 hour and 45 minutes so far. But we're giving them what they want, and they're reacting to it and appreciating it and coming back. They choose us on those Tuesday nights solely because of what we do and the way that they can participate with it. Now, do a lot of other shows do that? No. Is it oversaturated with shows that don't do that? Abso-friggin-lutely. It really is. There's a lot of them out there where it's. I wish there was a banner that said for entertainment purposes only, because it's drama, and I'm gonna yell at you for an hour. You're gonna like it, and I'm gonna pray you come back. And honestly, I don't believe 9 times out of 10 people go back. I think a lot of those shows have new listeners every week.
But that's what I'm talking about, is shows like yours, shows like Everybody Is Here. And Christina, you have a very large audience with UPRN, and I want to get your opinion on this. You know, what is your audience looking for that they are not finding elsewhere? Because, let's face it, from the top on down, and whether you like to believe it or not, okay, Coast to Coast is number one. They are still number one, you know, when it comes to this genre, this market. But since there's been changes there in programming and host and format and everything like that, a lot of people have left, which has broken it down with a lot of orphan listeners. How do you go about trying to attract those orphan listeners, Christina?
Well, to be honest, Dave, you know, for me, and this, you may say it sounds a little crazy, for me, I don't pay attention so much to the listeners as much as, you know, the network does. And I've done really well. But for me, I just try to make sure that every week I'm bringing around good guests, good topics, and getting the information out. Because I would be doing this whether I had over 600,000 live listeners like I do now, or I only had 6 listeners. It's the information that's sitting out there. As long as there's somebody out there that wants to listen, and, you know, that's what I'm going to do. Thankfully, I've been very successful at doing what I'm doing. And it seems the topics, the interaction, the professionalism, all of that is the feedback that we get from our listeners of why they, you know, come to check out the show and stay. But again, everybody seems to be, listeners are always looking for something specific. And so, you know, and there's so many different platforms out there of shows to listen to. You know, all you can really do is try to put on the best show you can and hope that, you know, the content is going to be something that is going to draw new listeners in.
Mike, what do you do to try and draw in new listeners? Because there is so much saturation out there, you really have to try and stand out from the rest of them.
Well, you're right. There's a lot of competition out there, and you're right. Coast to Coast is still number one, but it has broken down because there's a lot of different, ways in which to experience the same type of content these days. We're not in competition with Coast to Coast. We have 3,000 subscribers on Android Media, almost 3,000. So we're growing. But really, I view it as we are in competition with ourselves. We're constantly trying to improve on our own products, and week to week, okay, what can we do better than we did last week? So I'm not viewing it as in competition with anybody else. Just how can we keep improving our product so that our viewers keep enjoying us more and more. They give us a lot of feedback. We listen to them like Vanessa, and that's the attitude that we take.
Denise, you got a couple of shows going on. How do you build your audience? How do you gain their trust? Denise, how do you gain your trust of your audience as you try to build?
Was that question for me? Because I went silent on my end and I didn't hear anything.
Yes, it was for
I'm
you.
sorry.
Not a problem. How do you go about building that trust with your audience to gain the listenership? Because in the end, a listener's ear is the most important gift that they could give any of us.
No, I agree with you. And like for us on both the shows that I do, it's a lot about listening to what the listeners want. We make it very interactive with the listeners, and we pay attention. I mean, for us, it's very important to what the listeners want, what they ask for. Sometimes they'll message us. They know that they can on our show page on Facebook, they know that they can reach out to us and message us, any questions or any suggestions, and we encourage that. And a lot of times, they'll message and they'll ask, why don't you bring somebody that knows about this topic or that topic? And we do. We go and we look for it and we find it and we bring them what they've asked for. Like that's what one of the things that I've been following religiously, like from Phenomena Encountered, and they already know. It's very interactive. We will, whatever they ask, we make sure that if there's something that they want to know when we have a guest on, we get their questions out there, and we find that they're constantly sharing our shows, and even after it's already gone live. And I'll post I'll tell them, okay, well, in case you missed the show, here's the podcast, and they'll share that. And we find that we get new fans on the page and new listeners and we see it a lot of times when we're going live. They'll be in the chat room and say, first time listener, I love it, definitely coming back. And then we see that name again and again and again. And we do notice them. Like we'll notice like, oh, you know what? That's so-and-so from the last show. They said they were coming back and they did. And we've been lucky enough to see our audience growing a lot. Like it's grown a lot from when I first started. And a lot of those new listeners that say that they'll be coming back, they do. And they're really loyal. And it really does mean a lot to myself and to my co-host Dan, like on Phenomena Encountered, when we see those same listeners that they come back over and over and over, and because they appreciate that interaction, they appreciate that we want their feedback, and then we give them feedback, and they see that we give them what they want.
The listeners' ears are the toughest thing in this business to gain. Because they want everything. They want quality. They want trust. They want that emotional connection with the show, Denise. Do you feel that because there is so much competition out there, that is something that is quite overlooked by many people who say they have a radio program or something along those lines?
Well, I guess the way I see it, because sort of like the way Mike says, I don't feel like I'm in competition with anybody. I don't worry about the other shows that are out there. I always just try to focus on what we're gonna do, what our goal is, what what are we trying to achieve for that week? What's our topic going to be? And I always make sure, because otherwise you're going to sound like an idiot if you don't know who your guest is and if you don't know about them and you don't. So I always try to make sure that I've prepared and I know, who's going to come on the show and who's, and I know that our listeners, they already expect a certain. They're going to learn when they come onto the show. They know they're going to learn something from the guest, from the topic, but also our listeners of the show, Phenomenon, they also expect some fun already, just because they already know that I'm crazy. So that's what they expect from and I have to know, okay, if I'm going to go on, and there's been days where I'm just not on and I don't feel well, or I've been down, or, I've had a bad day because of my dad or whatever, I've been thinking about my dad, and I have to let them know, hey, listen guys, I'm not feeling, very well today, blah, blah, blah. So if I'm down, I have to give that explanation. Otherwise, they're going to be the whole show. Are you okay? What's wrong, Dee? What's the matter? Are you? And the show becomes about that. So going back to your question, I don't focus on like what's the other shows that are out there, because I'm always just so focused on how am I going to keep my listeners, my loyal fans that keep coming back every week, how am I going to keep them happy? How am I going to give them what they want? And I don't know if other shows do. I know that those of us that are here, I know that we do, because I've listened to all these shows. I know I've popped into your show many times, Dave, and I know that you're all about listener interaction and trying to see what do your listeners want and what topics do they want to talk about, and the same thing, Christina, I've listened to your show, and Mike and Vanessa, I've listened to your show. So I know that we all of us here do that. I don't know about other shows, but I hope they do, and like Vanessa says, if they don't, then I wouldn't. They're just, like she says, for entertainment purposes only.
And they won't be around for long.
Mm-hmm.
My next topic that I want to get to, and Vanessa and Christina, I'm going to focus on you guys here because you're kind of the psychics of the group. Have you noticed, and what is your opinion, Vanessa, we'll start with you, in regards to this, how many psychics are popping up out of the blue recently? Like, it seems like, honestly, there's one lady out there, and I have to be careful with this because I don't want to slander or do anything along those lines, but there's one lady out there that I know of, okay? 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago, she private messaged me telling me, wow, I'm just starting to get into this, and I'm learning so much about myself, and I may have this ability, I'm not sure, and blah, blah, blah. Okay? Uh-huh. Now I see her all the time doing Facebook Live readings. Okay. That scares the living hell out of me. Okay? Because it seems like, and I'm using this one as an example, but it seems like everyone and their dog in the past 6 months is becoming psychic and giving readings. To me, that's dangerous for a lot of people who literally are going to a psychic because they need help, because they need some sort of divine understanding of what is going on. So, do you, as someone who has been very open about your gift for a lot of years, does this bother you?
It can, and it does sometimes, and I'm going to be very, very honest as to why. Now, first off, disclosure, people come to me every day and tell me that they are feeling that they have these particular gifts, and what I do on the side, and I don't advertise this because it's nobody's damn business. I'm not going to give names or anything, but what I do is I kind of help coach them through it, and teach them, I guess, under the table, no money exchanged, on how to kind of rein it in and figure it out and see what's going on with them and see where their gifts lie. Because I do believe that most of us are born with a particular type of gift. I've always said it just depends on how you open up the package. That having been said, I have seen a lot of people popping up all over the place, ones that I haven't had any interaction with, and all of a sudden it is, I'm going to do these readings and I'm going to charge an arm and a leg for it, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it doesn't seem to be about the people that they're helping. It seems to be about getting their name out there. And that's the part of it that really does frighten me, because I have to be honest, a lot of people who get these readings online message me after. It's true story. They message me after. And I don't know anything about the reading, and they ask me, my opinion, what should they do with this information that they've been given, and then we just take it from there. But it's the ones that are looking for the notoriety, the fame, and the money that I'm seeing popping up every other day that really does frighten me. And I think people need to be very careful with that. I think you need to be very careful, because on both sides, you're talking about people who are emotionally wrecked a little bit, looking for answers, because we've all been there. And then you're talking about people who are just now figuring themselves out, trying to teach somebody else or tell somebody else what they need to be doing. It's kind of like the blind leading the blind. And I think people need to be very, very, very careful on both sides. I myself, if I did not have abilities, I would not go to anybody who was not tried and true and pay them money. Do you understand what I'm saying? I just wouldn't do it. And I think the listeners and the psychics both need to be very careful about what they're doing, because, it can be criminal.
Christina, I'm curious to get your opinion on that.
Well, I'll tell you, it's something that really kind of peeves me a lot, because, like you said, Dave, and I wouldn't even say the last 6 months. I would say it's the last couple of years. Anybody who, like myself and Vanessa and other people who have abilities, it was something that we, is who we are. And so we came out in the public, but we were shunned in the paranormal field. Even though we could help, we were shunned. And all of a sudden they started putting psychics on the paranormal television shows, and all of a sudden it became popular. And like literally overnight we started seeing everybody change their name to psychic medium so-and-so. And I'm like, what the hell? And I personally knew a lot of people that don't have abilities. Well, I'm not going to say everybody has abilities, but they're not activated. And to be telling people that, now you could do readings for them, etc. I've seen people who've never done a reading before, and all of a sudden now they're charging these exorbitant amounts because they've decided now that they should get paid for this. And just like with even as I get a lot of people that come to me afterwards saying, I had a reading with you, and then this person gave me a reading, and this is what they said, and but we also have to look at too, people are doing readings out there, and there are people that are going and hopping from one person to another looking for answers, and of course you're going to get all different information.
Exactly.
So
psychic hoppers. You have psychic hoppers. They will go to different people until they get the answer they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And we see it when James does his Two Mediums and a Large show on the weekends. Every second weekend, those people are there every single weekend, calling in, asking the exact same questions at point. And you know what, though? I don't blame the people. They're scared. They're looking for answers because 2 + 2 isn't equaling 4, okay? And, hey, I have 4 different people that I check with. If I'm making a decision, if I'm making if I got a feeling of something, do I consider myself intuitive? I let other people be the judge of that. I know sometimes I see things and sometimes I don't. But it's not something that I am about to say, oh, okay, well, Space Out Radio host Dave Scott is psychic now, and I'm going to start doing readings for you, the public. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't trust myself to that. I barely trust myself when I do get information. But you're right, Christina. There's a lot of people all of a sudden jumping on this bandwagon, trying to make a name for themselves. So we do have to wonder, and I bring you in now, Mike, in regards to this. With all of this happening, has it changed your mind in working with psychic mediums as guests on your show?
Well, I'll bring them on because it provides for some interesting dialogue. And people are very interested in psychics because there's kind of that mystery behind it that they know something that we don't. I guess maybe we're a little more particular about who we do bring on. And of course, we always have Vanessa right there. But I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Dave, where it's like and Christina touched on it that we all have some form of abilities, but I'm not going to go out there and say that I have these abilities, and so we're going to do international world-renowned psychic medium Mike. Now that's not happening. But I think we, as far as bringing on other mediums to the show, I mean, we vet people. We look into people's backgrounds about, who we may or may not bring on. Some people will give us suggestions as, maybe you should have this person on or that person on, or somebody may, message us, hey, I'd like to come on your show. But we'll vet them. We'll look into their background, see how legit they may be. There's people that hit us up that, they've been, in the field for a year or what have you. And, now suddenly they believe they have all these abilities. We're not going to bring those people on. There's a degree of quality that you need to have within your show, and you can't just bring anybody on. And it's it is a bit appalling that these people are giving advice to those that are looking for help, and these people that need help are getting bad advice, and we're not going to condone that on Edge of the Rabbit Hole. It's just not going to happen.
I don't know if any of you do this, but I do this. And Denise, I'll get your opinion on what Mike was saying just in moments from now. But I'm curious if any of you do this. If you have a psychic medium come up and say, I would love to be a guest on your show, I'd love to do readings, I'd love to, communicate with people, I'm trying to get my name out there, so on and so forth. Do any of you take this step and use yourself as a litmus test to see how accurate they are?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, what trigger words are you looking for? Anybody can hop in.
Okay, this is going to be fun. There are particular things about my life that nobody knows about, and if you're psychic at all, you're going to get it. There's no getting around it, and you would just know it based on my energy. I actually had an extremely well-known psychic, who is on the radio here in Oklahoma once a month. And back years ago when I was working at a pediatric dental office, I had called in just to see. It was before my first trip to New Orleans. And she gave me a little reading, and I just kind of poo-pooed it away because I'm like, yeah, she's on a little bit of crack. And she actually ended up getting my phone number from the radio station and continued to hound me for 2 months to try to. I was getting phone calls at work on my cell phone from her, and I mean, she lives like 6 hours away from, ahead of time from me, and she was telling me that all I needed to do, and she would take it in 2 payments, was 2 payments of $450, and she would give me the reading that I absolutely needed to have. And I finally asked her, I said, you know what, you're psychic, right? And she said, yeah. And I said, if you're psychic, you'd know that I'm a single mom and I don't make that kind of money, so I don't think that I'm going to be getting a reading from you. I'm sorry.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, just go ahead and be honest. If you're psychic, I don't have $900 to toss your way. I got a kid.
Yes, and I got one about to go to college. I know what that's all about.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So that right there, that's my litmus test. When you go and ask me for cash like that, guess what? Bye-bye.
I always ask one question, the same question every psychic. I'm not going to tip anybody off. And it's funny how many of them will say, well, what do you want to know? Can you be more specific? I say, you're the psychic. You tell me.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
You
right
tell,
there.
you tell me.
When I do a reading, when I do a reading for anyone, the first thing out of my mouth, I tell them, do not tell me anything. And if they're sitting in front of me, I actually turn away from them, so I'm not even looking at them. And you can ask anyone I've done a reading for. Anyone listening to the show, they'll completely confirm that. I don't want any information, period, till I'm done. Right. So my first tip-off is if a psychic asks me questions and has to look at me when she's asking these questions, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. Bye-bye.
See, and if I see a psychic personally, and if they're looking at me in the eyes, I know they're full of it.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're full of it.
Yeah, because they're trying to read you.
They're trying to read you. Absolutely. And that's what we'll run with. That's what we'll run with for sure. We only got about 5 minutes here before we got to go to break. That's a very fast first hour. Denise, you need to do me a favor before I ask you the same question about psychic mediums, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I have a listener at #SpacedOutRadio on Twitter named Eric, who is absolutely gaga over your voice right now. So he's got a radio crush, and he's one of my avid listeners. So could you say hi to him for me?
Eric?
Yes.
Hi, Eric. Hola, Eric. Very nice to meet you.
Yes, all he needs is a good mustache, and he'll be just fine. He'll be just fine. Now, in regards to, thank you for doing that, by the way, in regards to psychic mediums, when you are on your program, do you find that your audience grows, or do you find that your audience actually goes down when you have psychics? Because on Spaced Out Radio here, Denise, if I have a psychic on my show who is doing readings or talking about psychic intuition, believe it or not, my numbers go down. Yet James Tyson, when he does two mediums in a large or something along those lines, his numbers go absolutely sky high.
Well, because that's what they're looking for, right, when they go listen to him. So they know that that's what they're looking for. So, of course, his numbers are going to go up. But probably your listeners, you already have a certain type of listener that for them it's like, psychic time, no thanks, and the numbers will go down. It just depends on what have your listeners got used to. I find, for example, on Phenomena Encountered, when we could have any guest, and what you want, the funny thing, and it makes me sad because I love the cryptozoology, and I love alien, and I love UFO, and I find when I bring, and that's what I love that topic, that part of the paranormal, cryptozoology and UFO and aliens. When I bring those guests, I'm so excited. I'm like, oh, Lyle Blackburn's going to be on the show. We had him on a while back, and I was so excited. And a lot of the normal people are like, oh, it's cryptozoology. Oh, okay. And they stayed for a while, and then I'm like, but guys, I was geeking out over it, and they. And so it's like, okay, this is what I like, and I had several that they stayed, and then some of them were like, oh wow, I'm glad I stayed. I was gonna leave because it wasn't ghosts, but I'm glad I stayed. And I'm like, well, thank you for staying, because this is absolutely awesome. So I'm glad you stayed and you learned, and they learned, and a lot of them were pleasantly surprised that they actually liked the topic. And so, I mean, that's what happens on my show, which makes me sad, because I want to bring more of that on the show. And I find that people that listen to Phenomena Encounter, they want more ghosts, more psychics. That's what they want. And I'm like, well, I want more aliens and more cryptozoology, guys. Come on. Like, so yeah, I'm trying there.
Excellent. A couple minutes before we go to break, is there a topic, Mike, that you will not bring on your show?
Oh, that's a good question. No, I mean, we've pretty much talked about it all. But like Denise says, it's pretty much about knowing your audience and what they like. So we do, stick to, mostly things about ghosts and hauntings and psychic phenomena, stuff like that. But there have been times that we've gone, aliens and a little cryptozoology and what have you. But
the numbers go down,
we'll
don't
touch
they?
on whatever. Yeah, Yeah, because that's not what our listeners are looking for. There's a happy medium. You need to do what you love, but also know your audience as well.
Exactly.
And so your audience may not be into as much as what you are. So bring a little bit into of what you love into there. If you're loving the cryptozoology and whatnot, touch on it a little bit here and there. But you have to know that that's not what your audience is going to be into. So don't live there because you'll lose your audience.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Christina, is there a topic you won't talk about?
No, I'm pretty much open, and I had to create 2 different shows for the very reason, because when you do have a paranormal based show and you go into aliens or UFOs, you can lose a lot of your listeners. So, but because I talk about all those different subjects, I have 2, but there's really not anything that I won't talk about, because again, I think it limits the information that you bring out. I mean, people are interested in all different types of topics, so why limit it?
Mm-hmm. How about you, Denise? Any topics you won't get to?
Actually, no. We've pretty much, same as everybody said, we've pretty much talked about it all. And just what I explained to you when I've brought on when we start talking about UFOs, aliens, cryptozoology, I do notice they don't drop dramatically, but they're not as high as if it's a haunting or talking about even if we bring in somebody that does exorcisms or what, just things like that's what the people want, and it's like okay, and it makes me sad because I love the UFO phenomenon, and. Yeah.
I know. I got to get you guys to hold on. We are done with hour number 1 of the reporters tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Our guests tonight, Denise Garcia, Vanessa Hogel, Christina George from her hospital bed. She is a trooper. She is a trooper. No putting that girl on the injured reserve. And, of course, Mike Ricksecker. We will be back with hour number 2 and your questions. Before we ship out, I do want to say hello to 2 brand new listeners in our Spreaker chat room, Teresa and Marcy. Thank you so much for tuning us in. Appreciate you giving us a shot here. So we'll be right back right after this. Coming September 29th to October 1st, the first annual Spaced Out Radio Caribou Paracon. Hi, this is Dave Scott. The event will be held at the Spruce Hills Spa and Resort in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Come join us for an amazing weekend of speakers talking all things paranormal, UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Sasquatch, intuitiveness. Listen to great speakers like Miriam Delicato, Samantha Mowat, and the crypto guru Ronald Murphy. Get your VIP passes by going to spacedoutradio.com and clicking on the Paracon banner. Come to BC, where the paranormal is waiting for you.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spacedoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spacedoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Had a run-in with ghosts, maybe Bigfoot, or seen lights in the sky? Hi, I'm Mike Schmidt from the SOR Sightlines. I'm here to investigate your sighting. Head to spacedoutradio.com and fill out a report on the Sightlines. All your information is 100% confidential, and I will help you figure out what you've been seeing. File your report, and let's find out the answers together.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Have you got your Cosmic Passport? If you need one, tune in to Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Weekend. This is Elizabeth Anglin, ET experiencer, spirit medium, and host of Cosmic Passport. Each weekend I'll be bringing you interviews and support from other paranormal experiencers, and the best in intuitive spiritual guidance from across the globe. It's all happening starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, midnight Eastern, on spacedoutradio.com.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest. From Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up, enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, we are joined by Ross Allison. We're going to talk Haunted Seattle tomorrow. Yes, we're heading to the Emerald City tomorrow to talk all things paranormal. including the haunted tunnels. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are also live on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Good to have you with us as well. We are also live on KTLK, the Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And all I got to say is, Bill, why? Why are you punishing me? It's Monday, man. You're supposed to warm me up for these passwords. I'm going to blow it. I already know I'm going to blow this one, and I'm sure that's what he's trying to gain here. Oxyacasthesia? Oxyacasthesia? I don't know. That's just your password for the night. Bill sets it each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Thanks, Bill. I'm shaking a fist at you right now. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. Follow me on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download this show and others on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. And if you're there, checking out their website, you can find a plethora of features for you. Check out our music band Bumblefoot, read The Encounter online, our news section, or you could head to our Spaced Out Radio store. Pick up VIP tickets for our first annual Caribou Paracon being held in beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia, September 29th to October 1st at the Spruce Hills Spa and Resort. Up until July 29th, or July 31st, that is, we have tickets 10% off. So get them. You can pick up a t-shirt, poster, stickers, you name it. We got it. Come check out the store today. Tonight we are talking with the reporters, Vanessa Hogel, Christina George, Denise Garcia, Mike Ricksecker join me tonight. Welcome back, crew.
Aloha.
Hello.
Great to be back.
Great to be back.
Absolutely. And I love these topics with you guys. I really do. Vanessa, you wanted to bring up a topic tonight that is very, very passionate.
Here we go.
I have unleashed Vanessa because I know where she's going with this. And I got to say, this has been a huge pet peeve of mine, and I'm glad I'm not the only one bitching about this on the air. Go for it.
Okay. All righty. This is my peeve right here. It's not my pet, I tell you, because I can't even be sweet about it. What bothers me and what I'm trying to figure out, and what I was going to do a blog about tonight that ended up being on social media all night long, so I didn't do it, is I wish that there was a different, I wish that people would differentiate between being a paranormal investigator and a person who documents paranormal activity, because here is my biggest problem. I've worked with many, many, many different teams. I've watched many different teams online. I have seen all different kinds of things done, from the spirit boxes to bringing in psychic mediums. Nice little air quote, because we all know I hate that. I call myself sensitive. But all these different gadgets and everything, and it's always, look at what I got, and then they just leave it. They just leave it there. It's all about, look at what I got. Or guess what I got, but I'm not going to show you what I got. And then the families or the homes or the people that they've went into, again, air quote, investigate for, are just left. And I wish that they would start realizing that what they're doing isn't investigating, it's documenting. You're just documenting it. You're saying, hey, this is what I got. This is what I got on an EVP. This is what I felt. I'm going to write it all down. I'm going to keep it for myself, but I'm not going to take it any further. And I've worked with a few teams that have. I know that the dozens of hours that they have spent researching to see if their information that they got matches up with what happened in history. They go back to the family members or to the homeowners and talk to them and try to help them. They take it that step forward. You know, they're trying to bring some type of closure. And I was wanting to know where everybody else stood with that. Am I the only one that this completely aggravates? Because you always see these investigations all over Facebook, all over YouTube, everywhere, but you never see the results. You never see what they did with that information. And I need to know if I'm the only one that gets totally bummed by that.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, absolutely not. I don't mind jumping in there. I'm with you. Oops. You know what? I'm sorry. I have my nurses coming in. I'm going to have to pause for just a second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
That's what happens when she's a trooper at the hospital there.
She's amazing.
Yes, Christina has some health issues that she is dealing with and actually broadcasting. She's joined us from her hospital bed. As weird as that may sound, but you know what? She wanted to be on the show, so that's where we got to go. That's where
she is a trooper.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm back.
Okay, go ahead, Christina.
I was just going to say, you know, the problem that I have, again, when people are just researchers, they're just wanting to collect evidence and things like that. There's plenty of places to do that. My pet peeve is these people taking on private clients, and they'll go in and they'll collect all this so-called evidence and then look at the clients and they'll say, okay, well, we don't fix it. We just validate it. And it's a big pet peeve for me because most of the time when a client calls you, they're pretty much convinced that they have something going on. So, and they want somebody to come and validate it and to fix it, to take care of it. And a lot of these teams do not do that. They have no idea of how to do a proper cleansing or how to, sometimes even how to do a proper investigation. So for me, it's a big pet peeve.
Well, and I'm looking here, Bob. I'm looking here at the chat or not on Facebook, and Bob Davis put, "It's not like there's a school or a university for paranormal investigators. No peer-reviewed studies." But and I agree with that. There isn't. However, we're all kind of in this together. At least we need to be, and we need to be able to open up that dialogue and say, well, what are you doing about that now? And the unfortunate part, and Dave, you're going to love me for this, is I think where people come up with the idea that it's totally okay to do business as usual is because of what they see on the shows. They see a team go in on these network shows, these rubbish, and they see these teams go in, you know, for, 29 minutes or whatever, or 49 minutes minus commercials, go in and stir everything up and then say bye. And so they assume that that's protocol. That's how it's supposed to be. And that is so far from the truth. Christine and Dee, you know this. You know, y'all talk to dead people just like I do. Mm-hmm. That's the last thing they want is for people to go in there and stir stuff up and just leave it.
Exactly. Yeah.
There has to be some type of communication and learning from each other, both the living and the dead, in order for us to progress this any further. Otherwise, we're stuck in this rut, and I don't see it changing, and that terrifies me.
Yeah.
I got to tell you this, and I know a few of my listeners, especially John at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter, will start bugging me about this. But I had a couple of ghost hunters, and every month we do this show called Ghosts of the Great White North, which will happen on Wednesday night, where we bring in a team of Canadian ghost hunters to kind of tell our American friends about the hauntings that are happening up here. And they were part of the Taps family, this group. Uh-huh. And I can honestly tell you, that's the first and last time I will bring on somebody from the Taps family onto this show. I was so thoroughly disappointed in the way that they conducted their investigation. Both these ladies who were on admitted they were psychic, but couldn't trust their own intuition because the TAPS rule said they aren't allowed psychics on their team, which made no sense to me. And then what they are doing is they are literally going to people's businesses. Their only rule of effect is to prove or disprove whether or not the place is haunted. My question to them was, well, how does that help the client? Couldn't really answer.
It doesn't.
It couldn't really answer that.
Yeah.
Right? And it was so thoroughly disappointing, because if that's what we are doing in the paranormal field, I don't really want to talk about it, because you're wasting people's time. These people are calling you because they are desperate for help. And all you're going to do is show up, grab all your gear, kick them out of their house, do an 8-hour or 4-hour investigation to prove or disprove it's haunted. Well, the last time I checked, ghosts don't work on your schedule. I run a paranormal tour up here at the museum. Okay, we have tours that the ghosts are all going and making things happen, and we've had tours where nothing happens. You cannot predict when things are going to happen or when they are not. Mm-hmm. You know, and to me, that's part of what gives us a black eye on what we are doing.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Dave, is people have to be willing to take a chance and be wrong in order to try to progress. They have to. That's what we're lacking. People like Dee and Christina and myself, like, if I get an image of somebody, if they pop into my head, whether I'm at a location or sitting on my couch, if I don't know who that person goes to, I will draw them out. I will write everything down that they're telling me, and I will post it on social media, both Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and say, I don't know who this person belongs to. I'm withholding some information so I can make sure I've got the right person, the right match. But does anybody recognize this individual? Because that's my job, is to try to find closure, or to bring, these spirits communicating with us, to try to get some information out there. These teams, whether they're air quote professional on TV, or whether they're just on social media, or in your local town or whatever, they're too worried about what they look like and whether they're going to be well received and popular, and not as worried about how they're doing their job. And that's really where my anger really does kind of hop in. To me, if you're not finding answers, you're part of the problem. People already know whether or not their place is haunted, unless it's the pipes or faulty light switches or whatever. They already know that. When they're having their sheets pulled off their bed, they know that. When they're getting scratched, they know that. They know they're haunted. They want help. They don't care what you're wearing or whether or not you've got 3,000 people watching you on Facebook. They want help, and no one's willing to do that.
I watched a team doing a Facebook Live paranormal investigation, which kind of bugs me. That I'm not even going to get into that, but they had two people on there who had ripped and stained T-shirts. It's like they went out for Taco Bell and it spilled all down their T-shirt. And here they are on Facebook Live giving us an update on how we should take their paranormal investigation seriously, and they're making stupid faces in front of the camera. I was like, you got to be kidding me right now. I lasted about 1minute 18 seconds before I just couldn't handle anymore. Where's the professionalism, Mike? Where is the professionalism?
Well, that's the problem. Professionalism is really lacking on a lot of these teams, and part of it has to do with the shows. I mean, and something that hasn't been said yet here. I know that we're all thinking it. The shows are entertainment. They are not real investigations, even though they're at a haunted location, or the shows used to go to houses and perform these investigations, and who knows what happened with some of those people. But they are entertainment. It's not what really happens during an investigation. They don't show that you have to go to this house 5, 6, 7 times or whatever to really get into the crux of the matter, to really find out what's going on there. Because, like you said, the paranormal doesn't happen on demand. So you may go there a number of times and not experience anything, and then finally you get that one time where, oh, okay, now we finally experienced something. But you don't see that on television because they're trying to cram everything into, 43 minutes? So, and people don't really realize that. And yeah, the shows, they gotta all look good. They all have to be buff now, and the women that are around there all have to do the duck lips and whatever. It's crazy. It's a well, it's true. It's true. I mean, I'm not going to point anybody out. I'm not going to point anybody out specifically. But if you look at some of the shows when they first started off, the guys, they were, maybe there was one guy in the team that was buff, or maybe not any of them. And then, once they had a show going for a little while, and they could quit their day jobs, then their free time was spent working out so they could look good on the show. It's true.
Dave, can I bust some people's bubbles real quick? I'm going to tell y'all something that I learned the other day, and most people don't know this, and I can't disclose I can't disclose how I learned this, but this is fact. Okay, the shows that are out there right now, even though most of them may or may not say, because I don't have TV, for entertainment purposes only, if it is not specifically labeled as a documentary, if it's not specifically labeled as a documentary, it is a docu-soap. And if it is a docu-soap, then your first season, you are a SAG member with scripted lines, paid SAG scale wages.
Wow.
Only if you get a second season do you start to make the bigger bucks. SAG scale wages are $260 a day.
Oof.
A day. You are an actor. That is what you are. It is scripted. Same with your reality TV. It is scripted. I have this from a very good source connected to Hollywood. So that is what people don't understand, is they see these shows out there that are ghost hunting shows, air quote. You can't see me doing it, but I'm there, little rabbit ears. They are actors. That's fact. Now, some of it might be accurate. Some of it might not be acted, but they are scripted, and they are paid actors. They have to have a SAG card, unless it says documentary. Now, if that doesn't change people's viewpoints on it, I don't know what will. But that is a fact.
I have heard that too. That the money isn't as good as what a lot of the people in the paranormal field do. You know what? I can say this though, at least for the first time in a long time, I haven't heard people saying, I need to come on your show because I have a television pilot that I'm getting produced right now. At least that seemed to have died down.
Yeah.
It seemed like for a while everybody thought they were getting their own television show. I've never seen more people posting that they're working on a pilot and they think that their show's going to come out soon, and then after that you never hear anything about it again because it doesn't happen.
Well, and that's just it. And I mean, here's the thing. You can be working on a pilot all day long. You could be filming all day long. You can have producers interested in you all day long. But until a network picks it up, it doesn't mean anything.
Again, yeah, I had an incident happen a couple of years ago where I was working with somebody, and they were talking about how they were talking with this network and all these different things are going to happen. He was putting the team together, and he wanted me on board, of course, as the historian. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And he's making it sound like everything was going to be happening very soon. And that this production company in Toronto was going to want us, up there soon to, go over a number of things, et cetera, have these production meetings. Okay, great. I didn't have a passport at the time. And so I went out and, got the passport, expedited it because it sounded like everything was going to be happening extremely soon. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was pretty broke, but it's like, okay, I'll make this investment to make that, to make this happen. And, so I kept, getting back in touch. Okay, so what's going on? Oh, yeah, it's going to happen. Don't worry about it. It kept dragging on. And apparently the whole thing fell through because nothing ever happened. Huh. So, but, it's a common story, that, and I've worked with a lot of different people that have kind of the same thing. There's a similar story where we've been talking to, this producer, this company, they might even throw out like Discovery Channel, whatever. And all these different things in the works, they all fall through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's still so saturated, as far as television shows. I mean, what are they going to do? Everybody wants to seem to think that they're going to have their own show, which is in reality very far and few and in between.
Well, and the thing is that the producers and the people that are responsible for, putting together and paying for all of this stuff, and the networks and everything, they believe, and the public has to a certain degree proven, that they know what people want to see. And for the most part, for the general public that watches those shows, that's accurate. That's accurate. They want to be frightened for a little bit and then call it good. But for the vast majority of the people that I know in this field who don't watch those shows, because I was just sitting here watching on the feed there, and there was a bunch of people saying they don't watch them, is that they would rather, just like me, I would rather have, a show on that was honest and truthful, that not a darn thing happened the entire time, but I knew it was a good investigation. And then maybe the next episode, maybe they got something. Maybe they were able to help somebody. But
yeah.
If it was honest, that's the only way I'd do it. I wouldn't lie for nobody. No amount of money is going to get me to do that.
And if you notice, the people that watch, it's usually not the people that, for example, I know that in the chat rooms when we do the show, it's the same thing happens. The majority say, "Oh, I don't watch it. I don't watch it," because the people that are in the paranormal field actually go out there trying to learn and whatnot. They're not. It's split in two. You've either got the group of people that want to go watch the TV shows and be entertained, or the ones that are in the field actually doing the work and getting dirty and listening to these podcasts and radio shows to learn and to for information and there it's split in two, and that's why I don't think there are some that they watch the shows and they listen to the it's hard to tell. You do have some that they do it all, they watch it all, but I know that there's the vast majority of the listeners of my shows, there's a lot of them, they'll say in there, "Oh, I don't watch that show, I don't watch it, and, it doesn't catch my attention." And, some of them will watch the ones that are more documentary type, some of them were, so yeah.
Yeah, I love.
Well, I think a lot of people got tired of the same old stick over and over and over again. A lot of the shows got very, cookie cutter, where, it's like, well, we're at this location, we spend 5 minutes on the background, and then it's just, some IR footage of people holding some meters and walking around saying, "Ooh," and that was the whole show. Yeah, and so I think people got tired of that.
I wish people would understand too, and this is still what shocks me to this day, is, you can get a lot of evidence at night. You absolutely can, and I guess it looks cool on night vision, although I myself do not look attractive on night vision. It's not a pleasant sight for anyone who sees it. But the majority of the evidence that I've gotten, like when I went to different states and even overseas, was during the day. Yeah, there's a crazy amount of. They're always there. They don't. It's not the freaks come out at night with ghosts. They're there all the time.
Yeah,
anytime. Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess just for TV, nighttime is spookier. But for me, I don't want spooky. I want factual.
Yeah, you want real.
Yes, I want real, and you're just not seeing that out there, and it's driving me insane.
Well, yeah, I find it humorous. They're interviewing, some, docent that works at a historical society because the building's haunted. Well, when was the person, working there? They were working there during the day, but we have to do the investigation at midnight.
Exactly. And usually the people that are working there, they tell them, "Well, I was here, I was working, and this book flew off the shelf." And you're right. It probably happened at 2:00 in the afternoon, when they were working,
Well, I was
for me.
Go ahead, Christina.
I just say, for me, I'm getting to an age where I don't want to be up, all night long doing an investigation. I tell people that all the time. No, we don't have to come. We don't have to spend the night at your house. We don't have to go all that. We can go in. If there's activity, there's activity. If you're going to get it, you're going to get it. If you're not, you're not. So and again, a lot of this is based off the shows. And I have had so many teams on my shows in the past, and I always ask them the same question is, where did they get their training from? And again, it's not like there is a training course, that comes along with being an investigator. But the first thing that they usually tell me is that they learned off of television. And it just makes me cringe because, again, I know a lot of these shows and I know how scripted and how the evidence is manufactured. Without saying anybody's names, I mean, just think about it. For anybody or any of us who have been investigating for a very long time, it's very hard to run across one case of demonic activity, much less be able to find one every single week. I'm just like, where in the world, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Well, and that's part of the problem with television right now is they've kind of run the course of, of ramping up, the paranormal shows where it used to be, an entire season, like the first season of Ghost Hunters. There was only maybe 2 or 3 episodes that they actually deemed the place was haunted. Every other episode they debunked it, and now it's ramped up to the point where every episode of every show there's something demonic going on. So it's eventually going to extinguish itself because what else can you do? After a demon, what's after that? Pretty much nothing. So it's going to kill itself.
The first season of Ghost Hunters was the only one I watched. I started on the second season and I was like, I can't do this because I was actually impressed with their first season. Now I'm 45 years old. It took me 45 years. Actually, I guess it was 44 the first time. 44 years to come into contact with something that was, I could honestly deem demonic. And I mean, I've been doing this my whole life. 44 years is how long it took me. But yet you see people all the time. And this was explained to me as well. On those shows, a lot of the people that own the networks is highly conservative and religion based. Mm-hmm. So you can't go in like somebody like myself who's pagan. You can't go in and look at it from my point of view. It's going to have to be good or bad, right. Evil, not evil, black and white, demons and angels, because of how the networks do things. And so, I mean, a lot of things are getting called demons that are not demons. They're just poopy people,
Yeah.
Right. But but a lot of this, and that's what I'm hoping we get out with these radio shows, is letting the public know you're being fed. You're being fed, and you need to decide that this don't taste good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what it always comes down to with anything, especially the networks, is money. What sells? They are going to keep airing whatever is selling the most for them. And right now that is demons. And so they will keep feeding it to the public as long as they keep buying what they're selling.
It's just sick.
I saw my first demon. I met her when I was 21 years old. Unfortunately, I married her daughter.
Oh my God!
Someone's going to be in trouble.
No way. No way. I have no problem mentioning that, and I've said it publicly, and I've even said it to my ex-wife. I have no problem mentioning that her mother is still pissed off a house landed on her sister. You want to talk about demons? You want to talk about demons? I've looked the devil in the eye. I have looked the devil in the eye, and I won. I won.
I'm not going to touch that one.
Yeah, I'm just not going to say anything.
I don't mind.
No comment.
I will take it all on that one. I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. Hey, I want to go on to a different topic here, if you don't mind. Let's switch to something that's kind of cool here. I don't know about you guys, but for the last couple of weeks, I've been really, really focusing on my belief that there's something to telepathy. Do you think telepathy, even though it's an age-old question, Denise, is something that is very overlooked by the paranormal field?
It depends on who you talk to. Some people it's not. I mean, some people do focus. It's funny that you said that for the past couple of weeks you've been focusing your attention on that, because I know I believe that there are no accidents. I don't know if you agree with me on that. There are no coincidences. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually have been talking about that a lot with David, about telepathy and about how I don't know if it's my love of Star Wars. I don't know why. But it just, I always bring Star Wars in it somehow. But anyways, all joking aside, no. I've been talking a lot to David, about telepathy and about how I really do believe that there's something to that, and that if people really, really, if they learn to use that part of their brain, there's so much more that you could do, because it's just a different language. It's the language of the mind. And if more people could tune in and tap into that mind language, there's just imagine, I'm sure there's people out there that don't want us to tap into that, but I do think it gets overlooked because I think a lot of people don't believe that there's something to it.
There's everything to it.
And I think that there's people out there that don't think that there's a lot to that that telepathy, and that's why I do think that it does. That's why I said it depends on who you talk to, because I think that I've talked to people about it and they look at me like I'm crazy. So it depends on who you talk to about that. Some people will look at you like you're crazy, like there's you're nuts. There's nothing to that. There's that doesn't exist. And then there's some people that they absolutely, like you just said, Vanessa, there's everything to it. So it depends who you're talking to. I, for one, do I believe in that wholeheartedly. I believe that that's actually a universal language, that if people could tap into that, people could communicate with each other, I think, better.
Well, let me throw out an example, because I believe in it. It's the power of the mind, and if you learn how to harness that, that power of the mind, then there's a lot of great things that you can do. Mm-hmm. And just this past weekend, it's going to be part of one of my morning mugs coming up here shortly. Shauna and I were in It's Raining Zen, which is a fantastic metaphysical shop in Alton, Illinois, and she decided that she was going to buy me a quartz crystal to replace one that I had lost. And so she had this couple of quartz crystals in her hand. And what she likes to do is she likes to feel out for one that calls to her. And she had I was looking at one. She had placed her finger on it at one point, and I'm like, oh, that one. She kind of fumbled around in the cup a little bit longer. And I'm still staring at this one particular crystal, like that's the one. And her hand went right back to it and picked it out. She had her eyes closed. She wasn't looking at me. There's no way she knew that I had that one picked out in my mind just from looking at it. But boom, she grabbed that very one. So I absolutely believe that type of mind power is legit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely 100%. But I know I've had bad experiences. I know I've tried to talk about that with some people, and I've learned not everybody's open to that. And some people, I will be honest, and I'll say right now that I have had even recently people that will not talk to me anymore, that won't, because I'm open with them and I tell them, look, listen, this is something that I was never open about in the past. Lately, I've been wanting to let people know, hey, it's sort of like coming out of the closet, but spiritual closet, if you will, it's true. It's actually true, because it's something that's been with me my whole entire life. My mother and my sisters, they know that growing up, when my uncle passed away, before we got the phone call, I knew. I got up and I went over and I woke my mom up. She knows the story. I woke her up and I said, "Mom, I have a feeling something happened." As I was trying to tune into what it was that had happened, and then I thought right away my uncle came to mind. I told my mom. I started crying, and a couple of minutes later, she got the phone call that my uncle had been in an accident. He had died. That happened to us more than once growing up. And my mom, to this day, she remembers. She's like, "Yeah, you've always had that, but I've always pushed it aside." And I pushed it aside because you just wouldn't talk about it, because you would be shunned, because people would look at you like, okay, what are you? What? And that was my experience growing up in the area where I'm growing up. It's predominantly Catholic, Hispanic, and they look at you like, oh, get away from here, and so, it was something that I always had to keep hush hush and quiet, and I couldn't tell people about it, and it was always something that I kept just buried down deep inside, and sometimes it would come back out, and I would work on it, and then I would just bury it again, and lately I've felt like, you know what, no, I'm tired. That's who I am. I'm tired of keeping that just hush and down and push this, and when people closest to me know that about me, and now because of it, I've had people that don't talk to me anymore now, and when I bring up the subject of telepathy, they look at me like I'm crazy, like it's the devil's work. I've had people tell me that. Yeah, I've had people tell me that. I've had people that they don't talk to me anymore because of that. People that used to be family that don't talk to me anymore because I'm, oh, there you go again with that, Denise. Oh, you're doing devil's work, and they don't want their kids around me, and they don't. So yeah, I've lost a lot, and recently. So when I've opened up to some of my paranormal friends about, hey, well, this is part of me, and I feel like I can open up to my paranormal friends that I've met on social media a lot easier than people that I've known in my entire life. And that's kind of really sad, but I mean, that is what it is. And that's what I have to deal with. And that's fine. I'm fine with it.
I can sum up society in one very quick story. Worked with a girl at a previous dental office. She asked my opinion on something. I told her exactly what I heard in my head, because that's how I do things. Told her exactly it. She poo-pooed it away, came back the following Monday after having went to church, and she told me that somebody at her church told her the exact same thing I said, but that she gave it more weight because they said it came from God.
See? Yeah.
And I said, so the devil's speaking through me.
Yes, that's how
exactly what God said. Mm-hmm. So... okay, all right, run with that.
And for me, it's been like a double-edged sword, because like recently I've been like, okay, well, you know what, guys, this has been part of who I am. And some people are like, really? And you're just now coming out? Well, yeah, because I'm tired of not being able to be honest, and this is who I am. This is who I've always been. So, and my mom tells me, you know what, put it out there now. She backs me. She's like, put it out there. Those that want to believe you, fine. Those that don't, they don't have to. They can just turn on when your show's on. They can turn away. They can, and it's true, it's true. But I can't continue to not be true to who I am.
Exactly. You die a little inside.
You do. And lately it's done the opposite for me. Now that I've been more, true to who I am, and been telling people, no, I'm tired of keeping this part of me shut off and buried. That's why I say it's kind of like coming out of the closet, So
room closet. Yeah.
Yeah. Coming out of the intuitive, empathic broom, whatever you want to call it. I've always been sensitive, and I'm just tired of not being able to admit that.
Well, you've seen me on social media. I don't give two hoots what anyone thinks about me anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't follow me. Bye. I don't care, because I'm not going to kill myself slowly anymore. And I think that by me doing that, Christina doing that, you doing that, other people doing that, the guys doing that, coming out and saying, this is what we believe in, and this is what we're trying to find answers to. We are giving other people hope and something to look up to, and confidence in themselves that they can take that next step as well. And I don't think that there's anything better we could ask for. and hopefully it's getting us on the right path.
Exactly. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Christina, I'm curious to get your opinion on the whole telepathy part.
Well, again, kind of whatever. I mean, the telepathy is absolutely is a real phenomena. But again, I think people are afraid of what they don't understand. So it's a lot easier to just say, "Oh, this stuff doesn't exist," than to acknowledge that something like this may be real. And then again, you've got so many people out there that are out there faking stuff that the normal public doesn't know what to believe in. And then again, like everybody else has been saying, religion plays a big part in all of this. So it's very hard to pinpoint it and prove it to people that exist. And a long time ago, I stopped trying to prove things to people. I mean, it is what it is, and people are either going to believe it or they're not. I'm not here to force anything down anybody's throat that they don't believe in. Do I know it exists? Absolutely, and I'm okay with that. And I know that there's plenty of people around me that are like-minded that believe in it as well. It's like trying to, convince an atheist that, God does exist.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's never, for those certain people who don't believe in it, they're just never going to believe it, no matter what you say, unless they have their own personal experience and they're like, oh, wow, so this does exist. And it changes their mind.
True.
I agree.
Me too.
Ditto.
Me too. I'm a big ditto on that one. I just think with the whole topic of telepathy, I think there's something there, and I think there is something worth looking into. And, whether it's, programs like MK Ultra or any type of remote viewing programs that have been done, it's pretty telepathic what they are trying to do. It's the same as people who have had abduction experiences or Sasquatch experiences where they get that little voice in their head that says, "Can you please come this way?" And for no reason, you end up going that way. I'm still waiting for Carl the alien to send me something telepathic. Bastard keeps holding out on me. But nonetheless, it's very interesting how the whole telepathy spectrum can work. Because if you are in tune and you are sensitive to picking it up, I'm a firm believer that you're going to get those messages. And if you follow those messages, you're going to be able to tell whether they're benevolent or malevolent, number one. But number two, you're going to be able to maybe find some sort of experience on the other end of that message that you maybe wouldn't have had in the first place. Now, I've tried using telepathy on my dog. Well, doesn't really work with him. I've tried it with friends, and I would say out of every 100 times we've tried, maybe had one or two things that have gone on where we're like, yeah, that's exactly it. Is that a good success rate? No. I would consider that more coincidental. But at least it could be leading to something.
Mm-hmm.
I think what makes people mostly bothered by telepathy, Dave, is the fact that it takes away anonymity. It takes away any type of secret that they can keep, any secrets they can keep to themselves. It's cost me relationships. Because in order to speak to somebody, telepathically, you can hear them. It's a communication. And it's for people like us, it's not something you can really turn off. So when you're sitting there next to your significant other and you can hear what's going on in their head, even though they're not meaning for you to, it can cause a lot of problems, Dave.
Yeah.
Okay? So, I don't think it's that people don't believe in it so much. I think it's that it makes them extremely uncomfortable.
And afraid, too.
Yes. Because it takes away their comfort. It takes away their privateness when you can just tap in like that. At least that's been my experience. They don't dig it a whole lot, especially the fellas. So, yeah.
Do you think a lot of people will admit to those messages, though, Vanessa?
When they do, it's not because they want to admit to them. It's more accusatory. You know, it happened a lot in my previous relationship. Fella I spent 6.5 years with, I would know things. And it didn't have anything to do with my claircognizance. It was just, I could hear it in his head, and I would know things. And all of a sudden, I'm in his head, and he didn't like it. And he would admit to it and confront it verbally, outwardly, before he could catch himself. So it wasn't that he wanted to admit to it. He just couldn't help himself. And that's just kind of, I think a lot of people do that. You know, I mean, if they would just think, or not think actually, if they would just stop before they spoke, then you wouldn't have those same things. Because I could always be wrong. Maybe I didn't hear it right, you know. But when you say what they're thinking, you catch them off guard, so they unwittingly admit it.
Yeah.
And you're not meaning to do it. You're just like, oh, I didn't know you wanted that, you know. And they're like, get out of my head, you know. And it's just one of those, you know. So it's really, 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 really inconvenient sometimes. When it works in their favor, they love it like all get out. But when it seems invasive, even if it's unintentional, they don't like it so much.
We got about 5 minutes here, just under 6 minutes before we got to go to break here at the top of the hour. And at the top of the hour, I believe Denise and Mike, you guys are having to drop out because you got early mornings for both of you. So
yes, unfortunately.
Do either one of you have a quick topic that we could bring up? Because we've kind of dominated this first 2 hours on like 3 topics.
Wow.
Good.
A topic.
No? You're blind?
Talk about the Mandela effect.
Oh, the Mandela.
Oh, there you go.
You know what?
Dave, I said that because I know you don't like it.
Oh, you know what?
I always mess with you. Talk about David's
Actually,
lip
that's
blade.
too bad. Actually, that's too bad because I have a story for that one too.
Okay, you fire it off. Fire it off, Mike.
Fire it off the story. Okay. All right. So the Mandela effect. Okay. So my story concerning that is, there's this movie from. My mother and I both swore it was from 1950s, black and white. It's an old war movie where this plane has crashed. The soldiers that were aboard are now ghosts, and there was they were playing baseball, and eventually they their plane was found, and they found the bodies and all this. It's kind of the crux of it. Well, my mother and I were talking about this several months ago about this movie, and we agreed on all the parameters of it, and she wanted me to go find it and search it out. And looking around for it, and I discovered that there are other people looking for this movie, an exact same description of the movie. There are these other people insisting, no, you're thinking of it wrong. It's actually this movie that's in color. It was 1970. William Shatner's in it, et cetera, et cetera. I was like, no, they're two different movies. There's no way. It was black and white, about 50s. Well, I finally found the Shatner movie, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm watching it. I was like, there's some parts that are similar, but no, this is not the same movie. But then all of a sudden, there was one line in the movie that I distinctly remembered from my viewing of it from a long time ago, and I was like, my God, it's the same movie. How in the world did this change?
Was it a remake?
No, it wasn't a remake. It's called Soul Survivor. But you go look that up, and you will find people on all kinds of boards talking about it being a black and white movie, and there's no way in the world William Shatner was in it. And that they also that the soldiers didn't realize that they were dead, but in this version of it, they do know that they're dead. So it's really, really kind of interesting how there's this huge, large number of people that swear that no, this is not the way the movie is. It was this way, and somehow, some way along the way, it got totally changed.
And you weren't watching it on a black and white TV.
No, I was not watching it on a black and white TV. No, it was not on a black and white TV.
Wow. Yeah, that's really neat, Mike, that you have your own story to contribute to that because I love listening to those. I know that, that Dave really doesn't like the topic of the Mandela effect, which is why I threw it out there just to mess with him.
Well, hey, why don't we throw in a little flat Earth as well, and we could just hit the double whammy right there.
Let's do it.
Hey, that meme proved that is not correct because if the Earth was flat, what does it say? Cats would be knocking everything off of it.
Exactly.
So yeah, could happen.
What about Hollow Earth, Dave?
What about Hollow Earth? Yeah.
I give more credence to Hollow Earth than I do Flat Earth. That's for sure.
Maybe it's a hollow flat Earth.
Ooh, I was about to say that, Mike. You and I. Oh, I know, Mike. Let's leave them with the topic of blue.
Blue, yes. We should.
What the hell? No inside jokes here. No inside jokes.
You guys can talk about blue things. Talk about blue mustaches. I like that idea.
What does only if it's lip blade approved?
I will make sure. You know what? It is lip blade approved. No, but talk. I think Hollow Earth. Like I agree with you, Dave. There's more. I give more credence to that than Flat Earth myself.
All right, I get it. Mike, before we let you go, give us a rundown of your show, where people can find it, because we do have new listeners on board tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Edge of the Rabbit Hole. Vanessa Hogel and I are the co-hosts on that with our chat shenanigator, Shauna Wonkel. And that is on the YouTube channel Haunted Road Media. So please go to YouTube and subscribe to Haunted Road Media. That airs on Tuesday nights at 9:30 Eastern Time. So our next show is tomorrow with paranormal author and investigator Amelia Cotter.
Very cool. And Denise, let's get a rundown of your broadcast schedule.
Well, I do Phenomenon Encountered on Tuesdays, and it's at 8:30 Eastern. It's an hour before Mike's show, and we usually only go about an hour and a half. Sometimes we'll go 2, but that's on Tuesdays, 8:30 Eastern time. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I do another show. Phenomenon Encountered is with my co-host Dan Class, and then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I do another show on Paranormal Warehouse as well, Box Talk with Mooney and D, and that is with Christopher Moon. On Wednesdays, it's on at 6:30 Central, and on Thursdays, it's on at 8:30 Central. And yeah, both shows are with both my co-hosts who I adore. They're both awesome people. And if you are interested, just go like Paranormal Warehouse on Facebook and you can catch us and watch us live.
We say goodnight to Denise Garcia and Mike Ricksecker tonight. Hour number 2, or make that is in the books. Hour number 3 with Vanessa Hogel, Christina George, and myself. Where we're going, I don't know, but we're going to hit your questions. I know your questions have been piling up. We'll get to them, and so much more in hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We'll be back right after this. Looking for a great weekend getaway this fall? Hi there, this is Dave Scott. Come on up to the heart of British Columbia for the first annual Spaced Out Radio Caribou Paracon, being held at the Spruce Hills Spa and Resort in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Speakers from all over North America are coming to discuss Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, and intuitiveness for the 3-day event, September 29th to October 1st. For more information, go to spacedoutradio.com and click on the Caribou Paracon banner and book your tickets today. Come to BC, where the paranormal is waiting for you.
The SOR Sightlines is a place for you to find answers to your strange experiences. Hi there, this is Mike Schmidt. If you have had an encounter with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, ETs, or anything else that doesn't make sense, head to spacedoutradio.com and file a Sightlines report. All information you give is 100% confidential, and I will personally help you find the answers you need. SOR Sightlines, your answers are a click away.
Have you got your Cosmic Passport? If you need one, tune in to Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Weekend. This is Elizabeth Anglin, ET experiencer, spirit medium, and host of Cosmic Passport. Each weekend I'll be bringing you interviews and support from other paranormal experiencers and the best in intuitive spiritual guidance from across the globe. It's all happening starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, midnight Eastern, on spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4COP. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 Mediums and a Large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories. From alien encounters to the latest conspiracies, you won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
A child grew up too fast, went running wild. Now we don't know who to pray to anymore.
Welcome back to the final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you along for the ride. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tomorrow night on the program, we head down to the Emerald City, where we are going to talk with Ross Allison about Haunted Seattle. It's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of ghost stories tomorrow night, and we will be right there with you. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Great to have you along for the ride tonight. We are also live on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. Thank you so much for allowing us to be part of your nighttime entertainment. We're live on KTLK, the Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set an impossible password for tonight if you're a member of the SOR Space Travelers Club. I can't even pronounce this crap. Seriously, Bill, this one's got me tongue-tied. Oxyaesthesia. Maybe that's your password, maybe not. I really don't know. But Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect with me live during the show as well. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. Find me on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download this show and others on iTunes. We're also on RadioGuide.fm, Player.fm, TalkStream Live, and Stitcher. Our website is SpacedOutRadio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. You can shop at our store, where you can get your VIP passes for the first annual Spaced Out Radio Caribou Paracon being held September 29th to October 1st in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia at the Spruce Hills Spa and Resort. It's going to be a great weekend for us weirdos, so make sure you get your tickets. Until July 31st, we have all VIP passes 10% off. And you can read up on the encounter online as well. Our great news section put together by the preacher, Eric Markham, and Everett Thiemer as well. Tonight, we are talking with the reporters. Joining me for hour number 3, Vanessa Hogel, Christina George. Ladies, so good to have you with me.
It's good to be here.
Christina, how's the hospital food? That's what we need to know.
Well, actually, the hospital food here is pretty good, but unfortunately, I haven't been able to eat anything since I've been here, so I haven't been able to try it out. But in the past, when I've been here, it's not too bad, actually.
Absolutely. I'm glad I haven't had to delve into that section yet. I'm glad. I've never been in an American hospital.
You've never been in a hospital?
In an American hospital.
Oh.
You kidding me? The hospitals around here, I had frequent flyer miles, man. I'm injury prone.
Ditto.
I think they're much different.
Ours tend to have pretty good chicken fried steaks.
Oh, well, that must be nice.
Yeah. They're not too terrible. At least not here in Oklahoma. That's the one thing they got going for them is they got decent hospital food. I've had a few stays.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, ladies, before we get started, I do want to remind everyone, I know that I've overpassed a lot of questions tonight in the chat rooms. Could you please repost them if you're in the chat rooms, because I do want to get to them and make sure that we get the panel your questions. This show just kind of went in a different direction. Normally we try and get to questions in hour number 2, but we didn't get to that whatsoever. So make sure you fire up your questions, and I will get to the crew in regards to them. I want to go in this direction while we wait for the audience questions, if you don't mind. Okay. Is there a topic in your mind, Christina, that is very underutilized or under-discussed in the paranormal field? And if so, why?
Well, that's a good question, because I'm trying to think. There's just so much that has to do with the paranormal, but most people do kind of take on those topics, so I'm not really sure. What about you, Vanessa? I'm kind of drawing a blank right now as far as...
Yeah, I mean, actually, to me, the biggest thing that's overlooked, and we'd actually discussed this in the first segment, was closure. People are so busy getting another voice, an EVP or whatever, on a recorder. They're so busy getting that and saying, like I said, look what I got, but they don't listen to it. I mean, they hear it, but they don't listen to it. They don't listen to the messages. They don't try to interact. They don't try to find any level ground of communication. That to me is the biggest thing that people aren't doing. And I just don't understand it, because these spirits actually have something to say.
Right. I'd agree with you there, and I think as well something that's not discussed a lot is when people are going out on investigations, the usage of protection. We don't hear a lot about it, but it is a very, very important part of investigating. And it kind of irks me that people get the mindset that they don't need any kind of protection. Until they bring something home.
Yeah. I mean, I'm bad about that. I will admit it. I will preach it all day long, that people need to do that. They need to protect themselves. They need to cleanse, everything else. And up until a year and a half ago, I was the worst about doing that, because I'm afraid. I am so terribly afraid that, and I actually wrote about this in my latest book. I said, I'm so terribly afraid that if I block any portion of it out, they'll quit talking to me and I can't do my job. And that's an actual fear that I had. And I was very honest in the book that's coming out in September. I was very honest about that. I was like, a lot of people don't talk about that, but it's true. I'm scared I won't be able to do it anymore. And I had the experience in Virginia that changed my mind. I need to block some things out,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it took what happened to me there. It took that happening and scaring so many people for me to finally realize I might be one tough cookie, but I don't need to put myself through that. Those who want to speak to me are going to do it, and they're going to have to respect my space. And
yeah, absolutely.
It took me a bit, but you're absolutely right. Most people are like, they go in all, tough cookie or whatever, and say, I can do this, I can take that, and then they antagonize and they try to provoke, and then don't do anything to cleanse themselves after, and then they end up taking that stuff with them. And I've known people that's happened to personally, and it's not fun. It's not fun. It took me almost 4 weeks to get over my first Virginia trip. I came home not even looking like myself.
Yeah. Well, I've had the same thing happen when I went to Oregon a couple months ago to do an investigation. I mean, crazy. And I am always preaching about how important it is to do your protection. And during this event, things were going on. Everything was happening so fast that we were running late, and we just so many things. And I completely forgot. And I'll tell you, what I experienced there, it made me a specific point in my memory that I will never, ever, ever forget again. Because once you do bring something home and you're affected so deeply, it changes you. It definitely does. Again, it's a topic in the paranormal field that people just don't want to talk about, and they don't want to acknowledge that the protection is not only very, very important to you, but everybody around. Again, everybody has these egos that they're untouchable until something reaches out and touches them.
Oh, yeah.
Or slaps them.
Or something jumps in and makes them touch everything else, and that's it's terribly frightening. Dave, there was a question on here from Joe. Do you mind if I address it?
Absolutely, you go right ahead.
Okay, Joe Algier, I think I'm saying that correct.
Allgaier.
Okay, I was so not saying it correct. Sorry, Joe.
Joe has really nice hair.
Okay, well, then that's why he's asking this. He says, question, does long hair help psychics perceive the world around them? He might have meant this tongue-in-cheek. However, there is validity to it, and I will tell you why. I believe, in order to be to really kind of accept your gifts, you have to not only believe in or accept whatever religion you follow, but also your connection to the earth, which is kind of a Wiccan, kind of a pagan thing, even though a lot of people won't admit it. And when you're talking about pagans or Wiccans, their power is in their hair. And a lot of people don't know that unless they study it. And so to answer his question, I can't speak for everybody, but I am a pagan. I'm a practitioner of the craft. And the longer my hair gets, the better I get. So, and if I'm doing spell work, I actually use my own hair. So, yeah, yes, it does. I do. Whenever I do spell work, if I'm doing candle magic, I actually remove my own hair and I bind the candles with my own hair. And if I do that, I'm golden. I'm pretty much good. I know I don't even need to do anything else to it. Once I've inscribed on the candles, anointed them, and wrapped them in my hair, because I got a ton of it, I'm good. I can just leave it be and it'll do what I need it to do. So, yes, I mean, to answer his question, for myself and others that I know, yes, our power and our perception is directly tied to our hair. That's a great question. I'm kind of happy he asked it.
Let's get to some more questions from our audience then. Craig is asking, ladies, what's the difference between a psychic, a medium, or a channeler?
Christina, you want to take this, honey?
Well, I mean, a psychic medium and even a channeler, they're all kind of very similar. We're using ourselves as kind of the conduit to give the information. We're kind of the vessel. Now, somebody who channels, they actually open themselves and allow the spirit to enter them to give the information. Me personally, never ever will I do that. I don't need to do that, nor do I want anybody to have control over me. Maybe I'm just a control freak, who knows. But I definitely don't need to have them enter my body in order to give messages. That's kind of the difference. And a psychic medium, we just get the information psychically. For me, I can visually see spirits. So usually they'll come to me and I can hear them and communicate with them. But again, I never let them come into me so I can channel them. It's not necessary. How about for you, Vanessa? I mean, do you feel the same way?
Well, I have actually always been confused myself as to why people call people psychic mediums, and that's what people call me. Because in my viewpoint, it's a psychic has always been somebody who can see the future. A medium has been somebody who talks to dead people, and a channeler is somebody who lets people in and lets them speak through them. Now, here's where I get a little weird. Can I see things in the future? Sure, but I don't like to. I turn down readings because I don't need to be telling people these certain things. They're going to find out soon enough they're going to get divorced. So I don't need to tell them, you know. Do I talk to dead people? Yes. Have I been overtaken before? Yes. Now, never have I allowed it. It has actually just happened. And the times, yes, that's how open I was. And I'm learning to back away and not let myself be so open that they feel they can do that. If it's just one, it tends to not be a big deal because generally they're leading me somewhere. I mean, I was led to Marie Laveau's tomb that way. I was led to Jacques Saint Germain's house that way because I have no recollection. Those are all in the books. But in Virginia, my first time in Virginia, it was about 20 or 30 of them that hopped in. And it was really bad. It was bad. There's actually, it's like I said, it's going to come out in the book, so I can go ahead and say it. At one point in time, there was, I was on the floor in the private residence that we were investigating, and I guess I was screaming because I don't remember it. And Gwen from Beyond Perception Investigators was trying to get whatever this was out of me, and my eyes were actually changing. They were going back and forth from yellow to red. And for those who can't tell in my picture, I have very bright green eyes. So there was no reason for me to have yellow or red eyes. And that was the first time that happened in that house. And then later that night, about 20 or 30 of them had me running full speed down a gravel driveway in the dead of night. I had to be tackled. I had to be tackled by a ex-Army infantry officer who is a friend of ours. Who he's a tough guy, and he literally had to take me to the ground. So it's not something that I'm going to willingly do again, but I didn't willingly do it that time either. They just told me there was nothing I could do.
See, I don't mind channeling. I have channeled numerous times, and I don't mind channeling.
They beat the tar out of me.
There has been one time where I was injured. I can tell you that. But it wasn't through spirit. It was through channeling with Samantha Mowat, who is frequent on this show, where she asked me to go back to her alien homeland. And I went there. But coming back is where I hurt myself. When they sent me back, it felt like I was ripped. My neck was stretching, and that my chest was about to rip apart. And in fact, it got so painful that a couple of days later, I literally thought I was having a heart attack. Literally found out, you know, lucky me, if you note the sarcasm, my family doctor happened to be working the ER that day. And he's like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "You're not going to believe me, doc." And he goes, "Try me." I said, "Well, you know all the weird stuff I'm into?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "This is what happened." And he goes, "You're right. You are weird." Right? He didn't buy the story at all, but it was God's honest truth. God's honest truth.
Christina, I actually have to backtrack. I said that it's not something that I would do again. That having been said, I actually have every intention of doing it when I go to New York next month. So, but it's a specific case. I'm working a 36-year-old missing persons case in New York. And I'm going to be spending my first night at the Horsefly Chronicles house. And I'm going to be staying the night in the portal room there. So I have specific questions I need to ask during, in there. And I'm going to open myself up. So it more than likely will happen. So I don't want anyone to come back later and say, she said she's never going to do that, because odds are it's going to happen. But I can't let, somebody who's been missing for 36 years, I can't let my importance outrank theirs. I've got to find answers in whatever way that I can. So if it means I have to go through that, I'm willing to do it.
Gotcha.
I say go for it. I say go for it.
Yeah. You can tell how excited I am.
Corey is asking, what is the panel's thoughts on the Schumann resonance? Do any of us know what the Schumann resonance is?
I don't know what that is.
Me either.
I don't either.
We'll get to that at a next episode because I don't know what it is. And no
We'll have to do
offense.
some research.
No
Give an
offense.
opinion.
I don't have time to look. I'm sorry, Corey. Sorry, guys. All right. Lois is asking, the Vrieldemän of the THAL Society in Nazi Germany believed long hair strengthened their psychic ability. No, it was a comment. I apologize. It was in capital letters, so I got screwed up. I did. I did. I apologize. I'm scrolling through
Bad
here.
boy.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like I'm out of control tonight.
That's okay.
I know it's okay. you know what? I want to get back because I forgot to mention what I think is one of the topics that we do not choose to investigate enough of in this field. And I think it has to do with the ties between real life mystery, like what you're dealing with, Vanessa, real life mystery with the paranormal.
Oh, I agree.
We do not touch that subject enough. How many mysteries out there are paranormal? Okay, yes, there's David Paulides and his missing 911 or 411 or whatever his books are called. I haven't read them, so that's why he won't come on this show. But when it comes to paranormal ties, about, let's take a couple months ago, there was that guy in South America, that 23-year-old kid, who said, if I disappear, I've gone with aliens. And then all of a sudden one day he just disappears, and the police go look in his apartment, and there's weird, unexplainable hieroglyphics written on his walls, and thick books of homemade paper, and things like that. The horsefly case is another one that comes into play. We have so many examples of where the paranormal ties into true crime. It makes me wonder why we haven't been looking a little bit more into that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, very much so.
Absolutely. But I think we're trying to.
But are the right people trying to in order to get the message out? That's what's important.
Well, I am. That's my goal, and I hope I do it as with as much honesty and integrity as I possibly can. The thing is, it whether people want to believe it or not, and a lot of people, I think when you bring reality into it of situations actually going on right now, that raises people's skepticism. But I've already prepared myself for any backlash, and I'm willing to do it. So I'm willing to put myself out there for that. And I think Christina would do exactly the same, and probably has.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just have to be willing to take the heat. And you gotta be pretty confident in yourself to be able to do that. And I think that's what a lot of teams or individuals lack, is that confidence. And that lack of not giving two hoots what anyone else thinks. So,
and that's the biggest part, is people getting past that. I mean, I've worked on missing persons and unsolved murders and things like that. The other part is that to get other people involved in this, to believe, say, like law enforcement, things like that, is very, very hard. It's very hard for them to allow that connection. They want to keep it very separate. And I have baffled many detectives being able to give them information. There was a case here, I don't know, probably about 6-7 years ago. A teenage girl was murdered out here, and they found her body, I guess, in the dugout at a local park for the baseball field. And I went, and the information that I was able to not only give them, but to describe the person, tell them that, I did see them being caught and convicted without a shadow of a doubt within the next year. And the police did not even reach out to me, but yet every single thing that I said transpired. So it's, again, they keep it very separate. So it's hard. And then people say, oh, well, I had people say, oh, the only way she would know this kind of information is if she was the one who actually killed them. So I, by a few, accused of actually killing this girl because I knew this information.
Well, see, and I've just ran into that, Christina. I was contacted on Facebook by somebody, and they told me of a crime, because I can't go into a lot of detail just in case I do get the call. They told me of a crime that happened about 8 years ago. And they said that they were fairly certain who did it, but that the person wasn't even a suspect. And I said, okay, well, just stop talking and let me draw what I see, and I'll send it back to you. And I drew what I saw, sent it back to this person. They sent me back a bunch of expletives because they couldn't believe it. And then they sent me a picture of the person I just drew. Identical. There is no doubt about it, down to the facial hair, shape of the nose, shape of the eyes, everything. What he did for a living, everything. And this person told me, because I told them, I said, contact the police. Let them know this is my phone number. They can call me anytime. I even went so far as letting my job know. Hey, I have to carry my cell phone with me. I might have to get up from a patient because I'm hoping that they call. My job okayed it, you know, and I have yet to hear. She asked me, could I draw the killer? I drew who I saw. She sent me a picture. Same person. Yep. And she gave all this to the detectives, and I have yet to hear from them. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I didn't even know about this case. This is in like 4 states away from me 8 years ago.
Exactly.
Did they arrest the guy? That's what I need to know.
No, this is an unsolved murder.
Well, in my case, they absolutely did catch the guy. In fact, it was almost a year to the date. Not only did they capture this guy, but they were able to convict him using DNA. So it was 100% what I was saying was right on. But it's hard to get. It's hard to get the police, though, to take what we're getting and what we're saying and what we're relaying to them serious. And it's sad, but there are certain detectives. I mean, I have worked with a couple in the past that they've run into so many brick walls that they're just willing to work with anybody to try to solve the case. But they're very far and few and in between. And unfortunately, once they kind of switch over, then it's like they're willing to listen to anybody and anything. And that can also be bad, too. Send them in the wrong direction.
It's frustrating. I mean, I'm sure, Christina, you have the same thing. I've got people sending me missing person cases all the time on social media.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Unless I'm contacted, you know, I mean, I'll do the best I can, but I can't find the person for them if they're not willing to accept it.
Right.
I can't, you know, and at what point do you tell people, look, I have to wait for a call from the cops? I have to wait.
And that's what sometimes you have to do, because a lot of times, again, you can give the client all this information, but if the police aren't willing to accept this and do anything, investigating because of this new information, it's basically for nothing.
Exactly. And it's heartbreaking.
Yes, it is. It definitely is.
I got a question from Australia from Robert for you ladies.
Hey, Robert.
And he is saying, Vanessa and Christina, do you know how you do what you do, or is it just as baffling to you as it is to him with his abilities?
I don't have a stinking clue. Christina?
What did you say, Vanessa?
I said, I don't have a stinking clue. I really don't. If I can't explain it. Yeah.
And I would say the same thing. I mean, again, I've had these abilities my whole life. And my pursuit in the paranormal was really started trying to figure out what was going on with me. And along the way, I still don't have a lot of answers. Why do I have this ability? Where do I get it from? Who knows? All that I know is that it's very present. It's always been there. I can't stop it, and so I just go with it.
Exactly, because that's all you can do. We touched base on this a little bit earlier when we said Dee and I did, where if you don't, you're dying a little bit inside every day if you have to hide who and what you are, and it really does. It feels like you're suffocating, and I don't think I can express that any more factual. It really does feel like you're suffocating, but you have to get to a point to where you're like, okay, this is going to cost me relationships. This is going to cost me family members. It's going to cost me friends. It could cost me jobs, but this is what I was born to do.
It's that double-edged sword that we all talk about. It was the good, it comes with the bad as well. I mean, and again, you just have to accept that that's the way it's going to be and try to move forward. I mean, for all the years that I kept this under wraps and under the, swept under the carpet, being able to come out was scary, but it was also kind of a relief because I finally got to a point, this is who I am. I don't care if people believe me or not. If they don't believe me, just don't have anything to do with me. But I think that by coming out and allowing yourself to be who you really are, and again, if you truly have these abilities, it's going to show. People, you don't have to go out and prove it to anybody. Just doing what you do, it will show people, the validity and the validation that they can get from what you're saying. So it's been beautiful.
Well, let me take this one step further because I'm someone who questions my own intuitiveness, much like probably a lot of other people. How is it then, Christina, that there are certain people out there whom I could read like a book? And I can sit there and I can tell them with, 90 to 100% accuracy of what they've been through, what they're going through, what's coming up for them. And yet there are others, mainly men, that I can't read them worth anything. It's like that part of their signal does not cross with mine. And I find that frustrating because as someone who is trying to learn the ability and to hone the skill a little bit more, if I can't trust myself from what I'm getting, then why do it?
Well, but you have to look at it this way, Dave. Some people that you are reading are very open and want that read, so they're very open and they allow you to read. There are a lot of people that even though they say they want a reading, they really don't. They don't want you to be able to delve into them like that, and they will put up blocks so you can't read them or try not to read them. And the information that I get, whether a person's, if I've been doing this for much longer, the information I get, it never makes any sense to me. So I just have to trust that and just give that information. Like I try not to second guess myself or the information I'm getting. All I can do is the information was not meant for me. I just give that information out if I get it. But again, I've come up with people that completely do not, they say they want to be read and they want to read it, but they immediately put blocks up so that you can't read them. And they may be doing it, subconsciously and not even realize they're doing it. But I think that might be part of it that you're dealing with. And part of it is, you're not sure. I think that you're more comfortable reading women. And then when it comes to men, you're a little bit more, I don't want to say shut off, but not as confident in what you might get.
It's been my experience with people with me because I guess I'm exceptionally hard to read. I've been read by two people that have even come close to being accurate, and that's in my whole life. But it is harder to read a person who has abilities. So even whether or not they try to have these abilities or whether or not they've even acknowledged them, it's harder to read somebody with abilities.
I agree with that.
I understand that, but it does nothing for credibility. Nothing for credibility. And that's being honest.
Oh, well, yeah. The thing is, I mean, credibility, it depends on what kind of credibility you're wanting for yourself. I mean, you really got to get down to the nuts and bolts of it, Dave. I'm factually, I'm about 90 to 95% accurate on anyone I read. But here's the thing. If I can't read somebody, that doesn't affect my credibility. What affects my credibility is if I say, I can't read you because. What doesn't affect my credibility is when I say, dude, I can't read you. Dang, I must not be on my game today. I own that, Dave. I own it. I don't have to be able to read somebody to hold my street cred. What I have to be is honest.
Right.
And if there's somebody that is wanting a reading from me and I can't do it, not that I choose not to do it, because there have been plenty that I just won't tell them that stuff, but the ones that I can't read, I was like, I can't read you. I must not be on my game. Maybe I'm a little off today. I never put the reason I can't read them on them. That's what hurts people's credibility is when they shift blame, and you just can't do that.
Or they can't read somebody and then they just try to give them some information anyway, just because they don't want to be looked at like,
some generic crap. Yeah.
And the thing is with all this, reading somebody is also just like if you're going to go and give a ghost tour. Like the spirits, they don't come forward just because you say come forward. Somebody wants a reading. You know, a person might want to connect with a certain person, and that person may not want to come forward and interact for whatever reason.
Exactly.
So it's difficult, but I don't think that it should affect, per se, the credibility unless you are being honest that you can't read and you still try to do a reading anyway, and give some bullshit information, which happens. There are some people that will do that.
Mm-hmm. And I fully understand with what you ladies are talking about there, and it does make sense. But it's something that I will continue to struggle with until that little light goes on in my own head. I'm pretty sure of that.
Let me ask you something real quick. Quick. Okay, so when you read somebody, the ones you can read, how accurate is it?
Extremely.
Okay, so I'm going to go and tell you exactly what's his name, David White said. We've already, for the most part, I think all three of us would agree, and most of the listeners on the radio station right now would agree, that we're fairly certain ghosts exist, right? Okay, because if you can prove it once, which I've done it 100 times, if you can prove it once that you've spoken with the spirit, then you've proven it. So if it can happen once, then that's all the proof you need. If you can accurately read even one person, even one, but what you're giving them is accurate, specific, not generalized information for them, then you have abilities. You have abilities you might need to hone. You have abilities that you might need to perfect, but you've already proven that you can do it. As long as it's been specific, not generalized information. So you no longer have to prove to yourself that you're capable. You just have to take what you've done and perfect it. You need to take some of that pressure off yourself.
I will when I get time. I have no time.
Oh my goodness. I know.
When I get time. Right now I got a total of 38 minutes to myself each day. 38 minutes. It's terrible.
Preach.
I want to get to... Go ahead. I want to get to Eric's question here. Eric is asking either of you ladies, do you become a person of interest when you offer the police information on any sort of case?
Yes. In my experience, in my opinion, yes. Because again, the world of crime and dealing with murderers or detectives or police officers, once you go and you have information that most people would not know, it is automatically going to bring some attention to you because you know this information and they want to know why, how. And 99% of them don't believe in psychics or, because that's not what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to think that way, at least the way society and our legal system thinks. Everything has to be factually based. And so, again, I've done a lot of them. Kind of the reason I don't do them anymore is, it can bring a lot of attention to yourself and cause yourself a lot of grief just trying to help.
Mm-hmm.
What about for you, Vanessa?
Yes, I've never been I've never been a suspect. The times that the police have contacted me to help, I was never a suspect. So I was very lucky in that aspect of it. But I've always been contacted. Aside from this last time with that, interaction on Facebook, I've never, no, I'll take that back. I did, in New Jersey, over the tiger lady, but I wasn't considered a suspect. Because,
I wasn't considered a suspect. It was just that you can kind of,
no,
a person of fiction.
Yeah, I've never actually run into that. I can't say that I have. I'm sure it's coming, but but no, not yet. Thank heavens.
Lois in the chat room wants to know about what your opinions are on shadow people and what they are.
Take it away, Christina.
All right. Well, for me, shadow people can be many different things. And I will tell you, I've had a lot of people that have said shadow people, they think they're demons or demonic or anything like that. A lot of times I have been able to kind of come to the conclusion that even people with, say, psychic abilities that aren't very strong will, instead of seeing an actual apparition, they will see a shadow figure. Some people say shadow figures are more darker entities. I don't know if I buy into that so much. Again, I physically can see them, so I don't see like a whole lot of quote-unquote shadow people. I see them like you and I. But I do notice that a lot of people will see the same thing that I'm seeing, but yet they only see it as a shadow figure. So I guess it could be multiple things. I mean, Vanessa, what do you think?
I would actually agree with you on that. I want to say either I'm having deja vu or I did a blog on this. I did. That's what it was. I am of the same mind that you are on that. Can some be negative? Absolutely. But to me, some are just, spirits or ghosts, whatever you want to call them, that just can't manifest and show themselves in the same way that others can. So it comes off in just kind of that hazy black thing. But I think we're so stuck in our minds that black means negative and white means positive, devil, angelic, things like that. And for me, I can always tell negative because of how it tastes. So if it tastes like you're sucking on a charcoal briquette, at least for me. So, and that's whether the person's living or dead. I can be next to a person who is completely alive and the air around them tastes like charcoal and it's negative. But if I am in the presence of a shadow person and I don't have that same taste in my mouth, then that's a pretty dead giveaway to me that they're not any type of negative spirit or entity that's hell-bent on hurting me. So I try to incite some type of dialogue, whatever I can do in order to get them to talk. And sometimes they can actually manifest from that energy, from that we're talking about telepathic communication. They're actually able to kind of bring themselves forward a little more so I can get a description. Does that help, Dave?
I agree.
Absolutely it does. I have had only one shadow person experience, and this is when I used to listen to that nighttime show who had that really, really popular host way back in the day, where I remember like 3 weeks after I heard his show on shadow people, I walked around the back of my house to my basement suite door, and my sensor light was on. And standing there staring at the door was like I don't know how else to put it besides like a childlike drawing of a shadow person. And then he turned, looked at me, and then turned around and ran right through the cement barrier wall that was on the side of the house. Now, the one thing that I will never forget about that, besides the strangeness of it all, was the fact that he had no hands and no feet.
Oh.
That was very interesting to me.
That is very interesting.
Yes. And that's my only real dealing with a shadow person.
Well, I mean, that could be a good thing, though. You know, a lot of people have really negative experiences with them. I only have a couple of times. One of the most negative experiences I had, I was in a house investigating, and the main source of activity was in the master bedroom. And so me and 2 other investigators were actually laying on the master bed, just trying to get a vibe, you know. And this huge black mass was hovering above us. But what was so unbelievably odd was that it was like somebody had just like infiltrated it with red glitter. So you could actually, I mean, the room was totally dark, but you know how the black mass is darker than a dark room. So we were laying there, and this was hovering about 3 feet above us, but it had like these little weird red sparkly things in it. And straight up nothing but charcoal. So I mean, it wasn't a good position to be in when you're laying there prone, you know. But yeah, but that was probably the most negative one I've had. But the rest have really just been spirits that just couldn't manifest like they would like to. They just didn't have that energy or the know-how, or you know, they hadn't done it enough.
I don't know. I would sooner deal with aliens than shadow people, but that's just me. That's just me. Who am I? Who am I? I just want a little alien love, that's all. You know, you can only ask for Carl to show up so much, then get stood up all the time. I feel like a bad Tinder date or something.
You gotta go to the alien back page. Go find you there.
Apparently, I'm not even in the bibliography.
Oh. Sorry, Dave.
I know. It does hurt. It does hurt. One of these days, I'm going to bring you ladies on the show to see if we can predict when Carl will be coming back. I need to know. I miss Carl. I'm addicted to Carl. I am. I'm addicted to Carl. What can you say? We only got about 6.5 minutes left with you ladies tonight, and it has been an incredibly awesome yet fast show.
It really has been fast.
It has.
It did. 3 hours went by really quick.
Yeah. Well, you're sitting in a hospital bed, so I'm not too surprised that you could have used this type of entertainment tonight, Christina.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's nothing on TV about now.
Absolutely not. And hopefully I'm not, overly medicated, so I made some sense tonight, but hopefully it all went well.
Well, let us know if the ghost of Billy Mays comes through on the infomercials. That would be kind of cool.
Ew.
I will tell you.
But wait, there's more. Come on, that's funny.
I always got him mixed up with Emerald Lagasse, that bam, bam. But didn't that Billy Mays do something weird like that too?
Oh, he was all over the place.
Goodness.
Yeah, or maybe the ghost from Vince from Slap Chop. Tap into his spirit. See what kind of drugs he's on.
The good kind.
I feel Christina rolling her eyes big time right now. There is my psychic intuition coming in right now into play, which is all good.
See how accurate you are, Dave? Never doubt yourself.
Come on. We're calling on Billy Mays' spirit to come give you an interesting infomercial in your hospital room tonight.
Oh, I might not have Billy, but I've had plenty of other ones since I've been here, coming in and out of my room. That's the only thing I hate about being in the hospital, is at least at my house, my house is kind of my sanctuary, and I try to keep everything and interacting with anything out from my house. Here in the hospital, it's like a free-for-all. It's like Grand Central Station. It's more draining than anything else I could think of other than going to a big, large convention. But boy, oh boy, it's definitely interesting for sure.
What's that like? And I'm not saying that sarcastically. I'm asking in a very intrigued form. What is that like, being psychic in a hospital?
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
Very overwhelming. I mean, because a lot of people don't realize that they've passed. I get a lot of people that wander. I mean, now, again, in my opinion, and from what I've experienced, a lot of times when people die suddenly or tragically, they don't cross over. And so just imagine all the trauma victims that come through and die in a hospital. Right. So a lot of times they're wandering around wanting to know what's going on, and they want your help. And, of course, I'm sick myself, so I'm not really strong, and there's not really a whole lot I can do to help them other than to try to cross them over. But, again, once you start doing that, it's like once they sense that you're there, it's like a never-ending line of people wanting your help. Mm-hmm. So it's a very draining situation to be sick in the hospital as a psychic. I
was actually just going to ask you that in regards to how do the spirits know that you were there?
From what I've been told over the years, is it's basically our aura, our glow. The brighter the light, the stronger our abilities are. Now, again, they don't know if we can visually see them or we can just hear them or we're just sensitive to them being around. But they are attracted to our light. So.
Okay. Well, the other thing is that, it's even if they don't know that you can do this, once you inadvertently acknowledge them because you can't help it, then they're like, oh, check her out. This one will do it, And yeah, I've likened it many times to being in a coliseum, and I've said this 100 times. It's like everybody's sticking their hands up, going, "Pick me, pick me." And hospitals are one of the absolute worst. I've actually cursed somebody out for picking me up and taking me to a hospital to investigate. So I'm like, why'd you bring me here? I hate this. And I was just in the hospital the other day with a friend of mine whose grandpa was dying. And I just had to sit there, and I played on my phone the entire time because I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it right now. I've got my kid with me, and she's talking to her grandpa that's getting ready to die. I can't do this right now. And so I just ignored everybody. I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, hospitals are hard, for sure.
You don't think of a hospital, at least you maybe take it for granted that a hospital is haunted. I remember, like, my cousin is a very talented doctor, and I've asked him point blank. I said, well, like when you're in surgery or something along those lines, do you ever see anything strange or weird? And, the scientist in him will always say, no, not really. But then there's always, well, there was that one time when something strange happened. Right. I would love for doctors to open up more just into what they know. That would be kind of cool.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool when I had my near-death experience, because when I had my near-death experience, I was looking when I was floating above my body, I was actually looking for signs, because I knew that sometimes hospitals would, because so many people would claim that they had near-death experiences, that they would put stuff like on markings on top of the lights and stuff like that. So when you're hovering, you should be able to see that. And when I came to, I was in recovery, I actually had a doctor come in who asked about me, because when I first was telling everybody when I woke up, nurses were like, "Oh, honey, it's okay. That's the anesthesia. You didn't go anywhere. You're fine. You're right here. It's just anesthesia." And I actually had a doctor come in who was actually doing research on near-death experiences. So I think that, there are doctors out there that are opening, up. But again, it's their profession doesn't really accept those kind of theories. So they don't really want you opening that Pandora's box.
And on that note, ladies, I got to wrap this thing up. Vanessa Hogel, Christina George, the reporters, wrapped up for another month. Thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Way to kick off a good week. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you ladies hold on. I got to wrap this thing up. Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL playing in the background. Little brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Tomorrow night on the program, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, Ross Allison, Haunted Seattle. We're going to the Emerald City, see what ghosts are hanging around there. Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, we'll find out. Lane Staley, Chris Cornell, who knows? We'll find out. I'm just making it musical for the hell of it right now. I want to say thank you to my great team and introduce them to you. Everett Thiemer, Eric Markham from The Encounter Online, Jolene Lammers, Web Design, Catherine James, Social Media, Bob Davis, our intro voice, Kim Gandy, Director of Business Management, Thomas McGowan, Sales, part of the Paracon, and Paracon Coordinator Lana Scott. A great team to be involved with. As you are listening to Space Out Radio, we will be back in 21 hours from now. And with all you hanging out with me, it makes it so much fun. And remember, together, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, take us home.